Do you love Lucky Charms?
No, remember it gave me that bacterial infection in my stomach. Maybe. Don't sue me, Lucky Charms. I've already lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to a cereal company. Well, now it's not. Now it looks like a mess. Now that's like insane.
But Busy's talking about my.
I mean, let's just like I'm just gonna take a picture.
Take a picture.
Right now, it's just not. This is just crazy.
My office, all of my elegant, vintage, secondhand wall units are
overflowing with shit.
Clothes
and shoes. I see Uggs.
I won those Uggs in a Watch What Happens Live giveaway.
Well, that's kind of fun. I like that.
Because I think someone had gotten like free Uggs and they didn't fit them. So it was a very limited, you had to like be the right size to enter.
I told you we talked about that when we were doing Girls Five Eva, the free stuff Fridays.
Yes, I love that. It's so fun.
Caissie!
What's going on?
My God, it's been a journey. I feel like I've lived 47 lifetimes since last we spoke.
You have.
I know, I really have. It's been crazy. I was just firing off a comment to American Airlines. They asked, don't send me a questionnaire about my experience if you don't want the truth.
I mean, I think they probably know what the experience is.
I think they do too.
I think
I'm just like, why even send the fucking thing? You're not going to do shit.
It's really weird. I've been noticing I'm getting like asked to fill out surveys for like literally every transaction that I do. Like, okay, a flight, I get it, but like if I just
what are they looking for?
I don't, it's weird. I'm starting to wonder, and people who work in like business
data research
maybe. You tell me. My suspicion is that somewhere along the line, some piece of research told these companies that receiving a survey
makes people feel heard,
makes people think that you care and that you're listening.
You don't. They don't.
And I just feel annoyed and like it's homework and it was already a lot of work to deal with you. The only time I'll ever do a survey is like if I am like shouting out an exceptional employee that like helped me out and
for sure.
Gave me a vaccine after the vaccine was closed because I got stuck in traffic. You know what I mean? I really hope that Latasha got employee of the month. She was gunning for it. I really hope she got it. But Biz, you're in Arizona right now.
I'm in Arizona right now. I went on my vacation.
It took you a long time to get there.
It took me so fucking long to get there. So guys. So wait, did I even talk about the vacation at all or no? Because I just was like, I wanted to just make it like, just keep some things for yourself, ladies. And three gentlemen. Hello, sirs. And then people
are they, them,
who are non-binaries.
Everyone.
Non-binaries. Did I just... Wait, that's not what you say. Non-binary people.
Yeah, non-binary people, friends.
Yeah, I know. But did you hear me? I said non-binaries, which is like just a weird. But that brings me just real fast to Birdie yesterday was like sitting with Leanne, my sister, and was on FaceTime. Birdie was on FaceTime with their friend, Bevan, and was like, oh, my aunt, my uncle, and cousin. Ugh, why isn't there one word when you're just talking about those people in your family? Like you say grandparents, but why isn't there something for aunt and uncle and cousins, like minions? Then they decided conkles. And then they decided, Birdie and my sister were laughing so hard, and they decided that if Birdie was going to be talking about like the whole family of aunt, uncle, and cousins, that Birdie could say minions.
Oh, there you go.
But it is a good point.
There you go.
Or Birdie was like, or even, just like just a plural word grouping them all together. Because it's exhausting, said Birdie, to say aunt, uncle, and cousins.
It is exhausting. I guess most people deal with it by becoming estranged from their families. I don't know. That's the easiest way maybe to deal with not having to say that. But the Minions, I feel like it's a good thing. I don't know that the Minions need more press. I don't know if they need to be more pervasive.
I have no idea.
In pop culture.
I don't know what's happening.
You don't know. They have a new movie, The Minions.
Oh, I know that because Birdie bought the soundtrack because there's a Phoebe Bridgers song on it.
Okay. But anyway, back to saying not non-binaries. I know that's not what we say, but also you had just said ladies. So you were saying the
No, I know.
plural.
I said ladies, gentlemen, the 3 men, and then all of our non-binary friends.
Yes.
Or anyone in any people.
Yeah.
See, I know we all we talk about trying to like degender our conversations.
Yes.
And that is one that is like, because I guess also too, and Birdie said before, like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Like, I guess there's like a colloquial way of like ladies. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like includes. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, girls. You know what I'm talking about.
Hey guys,
Hey guys. Wait, like that is interesting. We haven't talked about that, but it's not for me to decide. But in my head, I'm sort of like guys is like non-gendered, and sometimes
like dude doesn't necessarily mean.
Should we just start over? Should we just start the whole podcast over? I'm kidding, guys. Guys.
Yeah.
Peeps. Oh, God, I hate it when people say peeps.
I always say folks, and then I feel like I sound like President Obama.
I don't
and then
like that.
I start to do like a President Obama impression because it's like, so I'm like, folks.
And you know who else did it? It was Bob Dole. Wasn't he folks?
Oh, I don't remember.
And he had like his hand because he had
something wrong with his hand and he kept the pen in it.
So he kept the pen in it, but then it also was just like, it was like he used it to
like gesture
articulate.
Yeah. I just remember the pen. Thankfully I don't remember so much about Bob Dole. I know we've talked about this a little in the past, like how, some people don't like to be called guys and some people are like, no, I have no problem with it because it's like beyond gendered language. It's like, colloquialism, like you were saying. But I know that I've said that I call everyone girl all the time. I call our dear friend Paul F. Tompkins. Every text I send him starts with, hey girl, what's going on? Just because, I don't know. It's just something we started doing. I do it to my sons. I call them girl.
Well, I think that maybe, I don't know, we could have somebody who's more of an expert on the subject, but maybe like, I don't know. Also, is that a thing? Because like maybe that's like maybe degendering everything is a positive. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I also know that like identity is important, and like if and I say this with that knowledge, but I'm also just asking a question. I don't know. Is there a version where like the degendering of all things, like using girl for guy, guy for girl, non-binary, they, them for people who, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm barely awake.
This is what I'm gonna do, and somebody I'm sure will tell me if they disagree. I just say what I say and try my best to hit the right tone.
Literally, it's what our podcast is about, Caissie.
And then if someone, I hope that whoever I'm saying it to receives it in the loving spirit with which it is intended. But if they have a problem with it and they are generous enough to mention it to me that they would prefer to be called something else, then I will 100% try to call them whatever they want to be called. And I say try because I will always have a brain fart and like forget for a second and mess it up. But I've been so lucky because people have been so nice when I've done that and really patient. And I appreciate it because I never want to hurt someone or address someone in a way that they wish not to be addressed.
Good Lord, no.
But then I do also think it's like personal. It's personal and individual. And so you can't really know that until you know how the person personally feels. And so I think it'll take a little patience.
It's gonna take patience, a whole lot of patience. Anyway, so what I was saying though, back to what I was saying.
Yeah, back to the
sentiment of what I was saying is that I didn't talk about the vacation, but I can talk about it now because it's over. And I feel that's how I sometimes think it's okay to do. Yeah. But I did say I was going away and I was going to try to like really relax, and relax I did. Well, here's the other thing. Among all of the various things, and guys, I'm not saying this, I really don't want to sound like a brat. So I'm going to, Caissie, you're the arbiter of this and I need your help here.
Okay.
A very fancy friend of mine said to me, there is this very fancy hotel. The person that runs their publicity loves you and like would love to just have you there on them. Obviously, they would hope that you would post about it and share about it. And guys, this is part of my life. Not really. I've never gotten a free vacation ever in my life.
Okay.
And ever. And I've tried. I've no, I really have. I've called my agents that handled these things, many times over the last many, many years. And I've been like, I really just would love, I'll do whatever. Because I see people on Instagram who are, people.
I see people that
all the time, and they're like,
know, and that they're getting some,
they're getting it for free,
a free weekend at least, because some of the people I know they don't have any money.
Right. Well, like your girl. So all I'm saying, right now, things have been tough for me in this moment in time, and I did not have any. I just didn't, and I was
you weren't liquid.
I'm not liquid, and I was a little bit okay with it. I knew I needed to take a break. Birdie was going to camp. Mark wanted to take cricket away, just the two of them, which I love. And I was like, I'm having this moment by myself and I should really take it. And I don't have any funds to do that. Where I'm because of course, Birdie's program cost, you prioritize other people, and that's just the way it is. Yeah. And then I guess if you are lucky and you're me, the universe shows up via a friend of yours who's
a fancy friend who knows a fancy hotelier.
This hotel loves you, and they reached out and they would love to just have you there. And it sounds like they would just kind of it would just be gratis. Is that how you say it? Gratis?
Yeah.
Gratis. Yeah. Obviously in exchange for posting, blah, blah, blah. Which, yeah, that's great. I have miles. I always have the miles.
Some miles, sure.
So anyway, the place is called the Belmond Capjaluca in Anguilla.
Wow.
Yeah. The name alone is fancy. And it was, first of all, the Caribbean is so nice and so beautiful. I mean, the water and the weather and the stuff. And it's funny because since I've been such a West Coast bitch my whole life, the Caribbean's not really an option because it's so far from LA. And so I've always gone to Mexico.
Right.
Because that's just the vibe. Or Hawaii. I guess we used to go to Hawaii for spring break with the kids. But yeah, so they put me in touch with the Belmond Capjaluca. I was like, how great can it be?
It was that great.
It was that fucking great. Caissie, first of all, you have to fly into, well, I guess they have direct flights, which I didn't, whatever. I was booking awards travel. So, sometimes you don't get offered the straightest
direct
shot.
flight. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There are some direct flights, I guess, from somewhere, maybe New York or Miami, I guess, to Anguilla now.
Okay.
But you have to, but I flew to St. Martin.
Okay.
But then there was like, and the hotel like totally set this whole thing up. And I think if you like go there, they will do it for you as well. But I think it would not be, it's not going to be my experience because it won't be free.
Right.
But they like had this guy that just like met me and like got me through the customs in St. Martin.
Like Fantasy Island.
It was like, oh my God, Fantasy Island. And then they like whisk me to this dock in an SUV. And then there's a boat. And you get on the boat and they're like, do you want a beer? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want a beer. So I had a beer on the boat. And then I went over to the island and they like, the place is so beautiful. Anguilla. The Capjaluca Hotel is just so gorgeous. And it's like all white and sort of, I don't know what that architectural style is called. Moroccan maybe? Or like is, like it's like
curved.
Mediterranean.
Yeah, Mediterranean. Yeah, yeah.
It
makes
looked,
sense.
which also kind of looks like my old house in LA.
Yeah, yeah.
And
like
so they have
Spanish, Mediterranean.
Yes, but it's like it's like more Mediterranean. It's like it's not what you would think in the Caribbean, you know, but it's like all white and yes, Mediterranean vibes. Yes. And it's so beautiful. And they really, I think this is not the high season. Also, probably why could be free. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
Their high seasons like in the winter. That's when all the fancy people who can afford to go. Maybe you get a discounted rate in the summer, guys, because it's almost hurricane season too.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I didn't leave the place. It was 4 nights, but I like got there kind of late on Thursday. And so then I had like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I had to leave at like, I was getting picked up at like 9:30 in the morning on Monday because there was the boat back, then the plane, and then the whole American Airlines debacle. But I think everybody's having that debacle. But it was just like the best. I had the best time. And I had like my own little villa with like a little pool. It was luxurious. I can't wait to post photos.
That's my dream to go stay at a place that has its own pool, like my own plunge pool.
Caissie, it wasn't a plunge pool. It was a full fucking pool.
A whole
that was like fenced in. No one could see me. I
can't even dream that big.
And I was like truly loving my life. First of all, also I was drinking rum punch.
Well, that'll get you every time.
Never before, probably never since. But I mean, I loved it so much. And then, it's like this, I had like my own little like courtyard in the, like, you know, like how sometimes at fancy places, if they have a plunge pool, it's like on the front balcony or something. So like if you're on the beach, you can see people in their plunge pools. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I do know what I'm talking about.
I can imagine it, but I have never stayed in a place with a plunge pool. But I know like all the influencers that I see on Instagram, I can just tell that they're carefully positioning themselves.
Right. But I'm saying even when you see like paparazzi photos of people on vacation in Mexico at their plunge pools. Yeah. They're like in the front facing the ocean.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So
which
that
makes
like
sense. That's a beautiful view. Except
then it's not really private.
Right. It's not private.
Mine was like in its own, like, I guess if we're saying that the front of the villa, the hotel rooms and the villas are like facing the beach, right?
Yeah.
It's like essentially like the backyard, courtyard that's totally enclosed, all yours.
Amazing.
And then I got to like just float around in the pool and like they brought me a wireless speaker and I was just like literally like listening to Tori Amos and like floating around in the pool. And then I was doing like just a series of thirst trappy photos, like maybe to post, but also just like for fuck's sake, for fun.
Yeah.
And was like, just like laughing to myself and like doing all these photos. And then the phone rang and it was Birdie. This was day 2. So wait, not Friday, Saturday. This was Saturday.
48 hours.
48 hours.
Free relaxation.
I felt like, I'm going to cry. I felt like, I was like, I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. Like I had talked to Mark and Cricket was super happy and with what they were doing. And like, and I felt so like they had posted a thing on the program Birdie was on, because it had been a week then that Birdie was gone, almost a week. And everybody looked good and
felt like you had it handled.
I felt very good about, like, I just felt like chill.
Yeah.
You know? And then I'm literally thirst trapping pictures, which maybe also is like a sign from God. Do you know what I mean? He's like, bitch, you might be single, but
and
this
you might
is not
be here for
this
free.
Is not for you. This is not for her.
Not so
and
fast, Phillips.
Not so fast. Fucking take it down a notch. I can see half your nipple. Phone rings and it's Birdie. And I was like, I don't even know. I'm trying to remember, actually. Because I had a rum punch. I mean, show me a woman who's taken a thirst trap without a rum punch and I'd be impressed. I think at first I was like, I thought that they had just gotten their phones back. Because remember I said that they take their phones
took
back.
Their phones, yeah.
So I thought maybe they had just gotten their phones back. Because I had texted with Birdie. Did I mention that part? No, probably not. I had texted with Birdie when they landed.
Okay.
And they were like, sounded great and like so happy and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was not great. Birdie was not having an okay time. Like, actually, that's not fair. So Birdie was having a great time. Sort of hard to understand. Like, whatever. Sorry. Birdie just had this like massive panic attack and it was really, really hard. And was like, you have to come here now. Like, you need to come to Paris. They had just gotten to Paris. They had started in like the mountains and then they were supposed to be in Paris for 3 days. And then they were going to somewhere else like remote, you know? So this was like the one city they were in.
Yeah.
And something had happened earlier in the day and Birdie's like one good friend that was there with Birdie, like had a panic attack.
Right.
And was really freaked out. And then that, according to like the counselors who were all wonderful, like it sort of, Birdie like started to get panicky and spirally and then had like a full-blown panic attack when they got to Paris. And I guess it was like a really big day of travel. These kids are jet lagged. Also, they've all been traumatized, you know?
Yeah.
And so the camp, like the program was so great. And they were like, I kind of feel like we can like, just let's like let it ride a little bit. But I was on the phone for hours, like, you know.
Right.
And then at one point, I guess I told Birdie I was in Anguilla, which why did I do that?
Well, I mean,
I don't know. Well, I mean, actually, I don't know. I was fine with it. But then when I talked to Mark later, he was like, why would you tell her that you're on vacation in Anguilla? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And then I felt like, you know, every choice I've made since birth was wrong. You know how that goes.
I mean, to be fair, like, you had free time and everybody was accounted for and being watched and like, you know, to be fair. And I think it's okay to tell your kid where you are.
Right. I mean, I guess the point is like, had I been in New York, right?
It would have been easy.
I would have just like, I mean, honestly, with the way that Birdie sounded, I would have just literally gotten on a flight and flown to Paris, been there,
Right.
Probably hugged them, and then they probably would have continued on the fucking journey.
Right.
I'm not even kidding.
Right. Right.
But they just, like, Birdie just couldn't recover, and then slept really well, did, like, some activities in the morning, the next morning. So that would be, I guess that's like Sunday. But then was just like, couldn't stop screaming and crying. And then called, like, crying, panicking, whatever. And then called Mark the next day. And then they called, and then the camp called, and they were just like, I think this is maybe just, I think we just have to listen to what the kid is saying. And, like,
yeah,
maybe we try again next year or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. So then Mark, we're just trying to figure out, like, the logistics of everything. Like,
right.
Because the whole thing was I was flying from Anguilla to Phoenix, where I was going to get Cricket. And then I was just going to have some alone time with Cricket and my family, because Cricket and my sister's kids are really close. And we had this whole thing planned. There was going to be, like, the sleepover at the hotel with with the cousins. But anyway, and Mark has had plans to do his own
his
vacation.
Yeah.
Which he's on right now. Bless up. But we were just like, what the fuck do we do? I was like, do I go? I'm like, I have my passport. I'm in Anguilla. I think there are nonstop flights. I was just like, do I fly to Paris? Can Birdie fly alone? I don't even fucking know. And then ultimately Birdie was like, I think I could just fly direct to to LA. That's where Mark and Cricket were. So Birdie flew to LA, like, as an unaccompanied minor.
Yeah.
And then I flew to Phoenix and was delayed horribly, and it was really insane. And Mark picked Birdie up at the airport, and then the three of them flew to Phoenix. And then he was supposed to leave Monday afternoon, but then he had to postpone it till Tuesday because I was so delayed. But Birdie was good. And, like, I mean, Birdie's doing well. Like, and then found out that, like, this is so wild, but one of Birdie's other, like, best friends from school went to camp for 5 weeks. These kids are all the same age, right? They're all like 13, 14-year-old kids. And went home after a week and a half because was just, like, too stressed, panicking, having panic attacks, couldn't deal.
Yeah.
And I talked to her mom, and she was just like, these kids have gone through so much. I don't know what we do. Like, I don't know. I think it's, like, hitting kids in different ways, in different, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear from other parents out there, like, with kids of a similar age.
Yeah.
Apparently, Birdie was, like, vlogging. They took away their phones, but they were allowed to use their cameras.
Oh, right. Their cameras, yeah.
So Birdie was, like, recording so much in the first, like, 4 days of the trip.
Yeah.
And it was, like, great. They were, like, so happy living their best life. But, something about the bird, which remains true, is that sensory overload is, like, a real thing for that kid.
Right.
And Paris is nothing but sensory overload.
Right. Right.
And so I think, like, combined with the fact that, like, Birdie got kind of, like, set off by seeing the friend have, like, a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I think Birdie got into, I don't know, I think they got into, like, their head about, like,
yeah,
oh no, and, like, my parents aren't here, and what if that happens to me? And then, like, it was just
right. Yeah, well, I was saying Eli used to go on far trips. And when he was around that age and a little older, Lincoln always knew that that wasn't for him, that wasn't his journey. But usually, not usually, but every once in a while, a kid got sent home for whatever reason, for like misbehavior or because they weren't tolerating it well. But I think now, because of like everything that we've been through and kids have been through, I think it's like when you're recovering from like a stomach virus, you have to keep it kind of simple, and keep like a brat diet of re-entering the world. Like just keep it not as rich and exciting as it has been in the past, because it's hard to know, and it's hard to judge how you're going to react to something, because like it's just a different time now, even if you did something in the past, if you like loved amusement parks in the past, you might have like a weird reaction to being in a crowd at an amusement park now.
Well, and I think that like, yeah, it's interesting. Birdie's friend who left camp had gone to that camp since she was little.
Right.
And then hadn't gone for the last 2 years, Right. And I also think that like, yeah, I mean, I think it was an ambitious student travel trip for a 13, almost 14-year-old.
Yeah.
To take. And I do wonder, because that first like 3 and 4 days or whatever, they were kind of like in the wilderness in like the French Alps, I think.
Okay.
Something like that. Like,
yeah.
Is that a thing? The French Alps, guys?
Sure. I've never been to France.
I have. I had to think about it, but I have.
I'm saying sure, like I know.
Yeah. But you might know geography.
That's what I was going to say. Never having been to France is not an excuse for knowing whether the French Alps is not real or real.
I don't know. But anyway, like being in the wilderness and like staying in one place was like, I think, the move. Do you know what I mean? It was like, once they ended up having to like travel, and then they ended up in a big city, and like big cities are like can be overwhelming.
100% overwhelming.
But also, like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't even know if it was like maybe there's like a mass shooting thing that went into Birdie's brain with Paris. Do you know what I mean? Because, Birdie's always been very aware of that stuff. So,
I mean, every kid is.
I know every kid, yes. But I'm just saying, like, I bet Birdie knows about the Bataclan.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I think you know how you used to always say, like, this is who I am now? Like, it's so hard because I don't think you can tell a kid like that you've changed over this really long time, that all of this stuff has been going on, because it's hard. Like, you're a kid and you're just getting to know yourself, which is like an important goal of life. Mm-hmm. But then you're changing in the normal ways, like you're growing older and maturing, but you're also like changed by this time. And so it's really, really hard to get a handle on it, I'm sure. It just, I see how my own kids have changed in this time, and they're older, and they already knew themselves pretty well. And, I would be in denial if I said that they weren't different people a few years on into this whole thing than they were before.
I mean, we all are. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I do think weirdly there's like a thing that parents do a little bit. Maybe always, but like I feel like I've noticed it now, and I feel like I try to be really aware of it, but like I think I fail at it too. Where like we almost are like expecting the kids to not have any, like, it's like, yeah, we're all fucked up by it and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like business as usual for you guys.
Yeah.
Like you're going to camp, you're doing this shit. You're
Right.
like going to school. You should be getting good grades. You should be focusing.
Right.
You should be, and like, it's like, I can't even fucking return all my emails. Like, I don't, how am I expecting these guys to like, pass every class?
That's how I've always felt about parenting. Like whenever I remember my kids' elementary school, like the secretary of the school calling to be like, well, one of the boys forgot their lunch. And I would be like, okay, one of us will bring lunch. And sometimes the school would be like, well, sometimes it's good just to let them go one day and like they have to eat like the spare school lunch or whatever to teach them a lesson. And I was like, what lesson? Don't forget something sometimes? I forget shit all the time.
Literally all the time.
Can you imagine if I called my husband and I was like, I forgot my wallet at home, and he was like, well, I'm sorry, I have to teach you a lesson.
Totally.
You have to live without your wallet and like never. So I feel like we have to be more gentle on ourselves and more gentle on these kids, because it's wild. Because you're living with your kid every day, you maybe don't notice how much they've grown and changed. But then when you think about it, yeah, it's a lot, and they've just been through a lot. And so I don't know. I'm sorry that it was so hectic and chaotic.
Yeah. Yes.
And I know that you're disappointed for Bird.
I was disappointed for Bird, but then I had to let that go too, because Birdie doesn't seem disappointed at all. Birdie's like, it was great. Like, I had a really good time, and then and then I needed to leave.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And maybe that's just like their
like a coping mechanism.
Fine, but
yeah.
Okay, but that's part of why they go to therapy.
Yeah.
Like for coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. Birdie seems like they're still like texting with the kids that they made friends with there already. Like
interesting. That's interesting. I don't know that I would have done that when I was a kid. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to picture myself being that age, and if I would have been like, I would have been salty about it. Well, you can't
embarrassed.
No, I just would have been like, I think I would have been sad that I was missing. Like I would have had like FOMO if I wouldn't have had the frame of mind to be like, well, if I had had enough on a certain day and went home, but like now I'm feeling better, like that I should feel bad about not being there. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like, well, no, I'd had enough. And so now I'm home and I'm where I'm supposed to be or whatever,
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like I don't know. It's hard for me
it's hard to think of like how.
I agree. But it's also like, I'm also like, just to be totally honest with you, like we haven't really talked like a ton about it.
Yeah.
Just because, we talked a little bit. I don't know. It's just like, yes. I was glad that I had like maybe 48. I don't even know if I have 48. I had 24 hours.
24, 26
no,
hours.
I think I had like
almost.
I think it was almost 48 hours. Actually, it may have exactly been 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I think it probably was actually.
Yeah.
Of like pure relaxation and just feeling good.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, there were lots of, then I was just like, these people are just going to think there's something wrong. Like I was just like crying.
Aww.
Like sitting on the beach and like sobbing. It was, I ran into the ocean dramatically for fun. It was like fun. I was having fun with,
Yeah.
But still.
They're like, please don't post any crying pictures. In exchange, please don't, for your free stay, don't make it seem like we made you sad.
No, it was the only thing that I was like, thank God I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I watched Wimbledon. That was fun.
Oh, good. Well, listen, I mean, everything's an experience, right? So I guess that's the takeaway is that now Birdie knows a little bit more about themselves and how they tolerate stuff like that, maybe. And you know that if you try to sneak away to Anguilla for a free trip, you better enjoy every hour because it's a ticking clock. You don't know.
Ticking time bomb. But that's what I said to you today. I was like, listen, I know I told you we could start at 1 p.m., but my mom came early to get the kids. We got to fucking do this shit because my phone's going to start buzzing in literally 15 minutes.
You should send your phone to Anguilla.
I mean... Wish I could have left it there. But I did a good job disconnecting from other stuff for a minute. And then that was. But anyway.
Well, everybody's back. Everybody's safe. Everyone seems like they're doing okay. So.
Yeah, it was, it was really cute. We had Cricket's online friends who are all here in Arizona.
Cute. Yeah.
Their online gaming crew. There's 5 girls. I had to literally count. Sorry. There are 5 girls in this online gaming crew that are all go to school with and are really good friends with my niece, Josie.
Oh, great.
And that's how Cricket got scooped into this crew during the pandemic. Here's a nice thing that came out of the time spent online because of the pandemic. Is that Cricket and my niece, my sister's daughter, became literally BFFs online over FaceTime.
Yeah.
And then they joined they started to do this gaming crew. These with Josie's other little friends.
Yeah.
And the only issue we've had, I feel like I talked about this maybe once, is that when we're in New York, the time difference and sometimes the gaming, if it's a school night, just and then Cricket gets crushed because she doesn't get to be a part of the game.
But
whatever.
That's hard.
But so Cricket had never met 2 of them in person.
Oh, wow. That's so fun.
So we knew one of the little girls has been Josie's best friend for years. And we've known her for a long time. And she's come to LA once with Josie. And
oh, nice.
But the other 2 girls in the crew, this was the first time they were meeting. And so I had planned this little thing. And this was the only day that they could do, which is why we couldn't do the podcast yesterday, because Josie is going to...
She has a swim meet?
Yes, but it's a big deal one.
Yeah. Well, Josie's a big deal swimmer.
I know. It's very exciting. So yesterday was the only day we could do. So after I got in at 1 a.m, finally. Thank God I got in, honestly.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Because let me tell you that in that airport, left and right, those flights were getting...
I know.
Canceled.
I know.
People were getting bumped.
I've been hearing about when they offer people money to get off the plane or to not take their seat on the plane and take a later flight. I heard they've been going up to $10,000.
It was $10,000. There was one flight that was $10,000. That seems insane.
It's a lot.
Why? Why does that make sense for them financially?
It doesn't seem to make sense. And also, I just feel like if no one takes the $10,000, they'll just kick someone off for $0. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. That's what they do.
Yeah.
They just bump people constantly.
It's very weird. And I'm is this a publicity thing to be do they think people will be oh, this is the airline for me. They're very generous with their customers. But I've been tempted to take that money before when they've offered to give you money for not taking the flight, but it's always when I have to be somewhere for like a wedding.
I know. Me too.
You know? Otherwise,
so
I would
exhausting.
take that shit and sit right in the airport and eat so many airport delicacies.
Well, I really did get down with that pad thai. My stomach has not been the same since, I'm not going to lie. But
oh, no.
It's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Who knows what it is?
Well,
maybe it was stress.
Travel in general.
The full moon.
I think. The full moon. Oh, who knows?
The full moon is really
Who
something.
knows? Yeah, that's tonight. So it will have already happened by the time you're listening to this. So I hope you charged your crystals. It's a crystal charging.
This is a big one, guys. This is a
super moon.
Guys, this is a big one. This is it. She's here. She's ready. Also, guess what happened? So I told you that my sister and family, see the Minions?
That the Minions.
Had managed to somehow score 2 rescue baby pugs.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
I know your sister has 2 baby pugs.
But they were like rescued, like legit
So
rescue babies. Which is just like, for those of you listening, if you're a dog person, rescue dog person too, you know this. Like to get like a puppy is rare.
Right.
And then to get, anyway, whatever. They weren't like rescues. They were just like, they were rescues, I guess.
They were
The person didn't know. The person didn't know that her dog was pregnant. It was like a surprise.
Oh, right. Okay. So they weren't bred. They just were.
No, they just showed up.
They were an accident.
They were accidental puppies.
Yeah.
Well, now we know it runs in the family because they're brother and sister, and Noodles, the little girl, literally is like 6. She's 6 months old. She got her period.
Oh, wow. Huh. Precocious.
Noodles is just like every other kid in this country right now, just getting their period. But so this is how, I feel like you'll appreciate this. So they had their appointment scheduled for like in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
When they were, but whatever, she got her period. So she's got to wear like her dog diapers and stuff. And then I was saying, what's the conventional wisdom about that? Like letting dogs go through heat once or not? I don't know.
Me either.
Who cares? The point is, but this is the first time they're leaving the puppies, right? Because,
right.
The swim meet.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a long story. But the person that they were going to leave them with is like being weird about the period and like is like afraid. I don't fucking know. Like people are so weird. So.
Well, I mean, that tracks. People are weird about
People
periods.
are weird. I know.
In general, yes.
So anyway, I heard my brother-in-law talking on the phone this morning when he came back. Like the big sleepover happened last night with all the kids. And little Bob, who slept on the floor in a sleeping bag in the girls' room. Like I have like an adjoining room.
Yeah.
And I was like, at one point I was like, this is not going to work. Like, I don't know why I agreed to but he fully powered through and did it. And he was so cute. And then like came in the morning. He was like, hello, Aunt Busy. I'm awake now. Everybody else is still sleeping. Anyway, it was really cute. So I overheard my brother-in-law on the phone this morning, like dealing with this thing. I had heard about the dog getting the period, but then I hadn't thought about the fact that they're leaving and, okay. So then he's like trying to figure out where they're going to put this baby pug with her period. And so then I was just like, I'll take her. Like there's dogs are allowed at this hotel.
Yeah.
And like, I miss Gina so much. I can't take both dogs because I feel like that would be insane.
Yeah.
Also now I guess the boy has like started to go into heat or something. And he's like humping things he's like going crazy, which is like, I don't want to deal with that. Also,
you don't want like a flowers in the attic situation.
Well, that might be how they showed up in the first place. I don't even know. Do you know what I mean?
Knows? Yeah.
But also, like, most things, I just prefer girls.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, so I was like, well, what options do you have? He's like, well, I don't know. I think my mom might be able to da-da-da-da-da. And then, we can board poodle. What are their names? It's Noodles and
I forget.
Beans.
Yeah.
It's Beans and Noodles. Oh my God. Noodles and Beans. Beans is like, whatever. I was like, listen, they found a place to board them. And I was like, listen, I don't want Noodles to have period shame and to feel like she got her period and you guys shipped her away.
Right.
And like put her away somewhere, like in a cage while like, not that the place that they would board her would be like a cage, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just send her off to some place where she doesn't know anyone. It's like,
away from her family.
I'm like, she's probably very sensitive right now.
Yeah.
She's probably feeling like emotional.
All of her 8 boobs are sore.
Yes. I was like, just let Noodles come be with me. At least my sister and I sound exactly alike.
Right.
Maybe she won't even know the difference. There's 2 kids. There's me. I sound like my sister. Just like bring her over. So I might have the period dog soon.
Okay.
Something I've never dealt with. But I literally was like, I don't want the dog to have period shame.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. Here, somebody was just explaining. Okay, so I was really sad about Gina. Like, I left Gina in New York, and she's obviously being taken care of. And because we have house sitters, and they're like the cats and they're friends. Yeah. They're like people Gina knows. It's not like whatever. They're staying at the house and they're taking care of whatever. And I was just like actually crying about missing Gina. Aww. And I was talking to my friend and she's like, dogs they don't, it's great. Like, this is so sweet. It's so sweet. But like, dogs don't know they just know that you come back and they're like happy. And I was like, who fucking started that lie? It's like, you don't know what a dog is thinking. Also, if that were true, what about those stories of animals like traveling thousands and thousands of miles and then like showing back up like years later? They've been like looking for their people all this time and then they show up. So I'm not trying to make anyone who's traveling right now feel like shit about your animals, but all I'm saying is that your animals miss you. I know that. It's not like I just don't believe it. There's no way that they know that. They're just saying it. It's like that same thing that they say about epidurals not crossing the placenta line just to make you feel better that your baby's not being born on drugs. But your baby's being born on drugs. I'm sorry. There's no magical line that the drugs don't cross into the placenta. That is just insane. There's not. There's really not.
I don't know. I don't know.
I do. And also, there's no way to know if a dog spends the entire time sad and mopey and missing you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to either of those things, but I do know that dogs generally seem very excited to see you when you come back, and it's not like they forget you. So it stands to reason that they think about you when you're gone.
Of course they do. And Gina, I'm sure, is just like, the fuck? Why don't I get to go? Why did everybody leave me? These people are nice, but like, where's my mom?
Here's what I will say, though.
What?
In your friend's defense, Gina might just love everyone and be excited to be with like whoever's nice to her. You know what I mean? Like, it might not be as personal as we feel it so personally, Like, you couldn't just give us some other dog and we'd be like, this is great. This is just as good as that other dog. Like, no person feels like that. But maybe dogs, and I don't know, but maybe dogs are like, in general, I'm excited to be with a person who's nice to me and gives me food and walks me and cuddles me or whatever. Maybe they're not, like, maybe dogs are whores is what I'm saying.
Wow. Okay. All right. Fair.
But I don't know that. But then it doesn't.
Okay, but still with
dogs
Noodles.
Are smart. Dogs
but still
are
with
smart.
Noodles, I do feel a bit like I don't want Noodles to be like with some strangers and a ton of other dogs while she's vulnerable in her diaper. I don't even know Noodles. I've never even met her.
You haven't met her?
No.
Aww. Well, I'm excited for you to meet her.
I know, me too.
I'm just picturing a little period dog in a hotel ordering room service.
She's like, well done. Well done. I like my steak well done. Wait, by the way, although any drug given to the mother during labor also gets into the baby's system, the anesthetics do not cause any harm to the baby. Okay, fine. That's fine. It doesn't cause any like long-term effects for most babies, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they like do say that thing where they're like, people will say it to you. They'll be like definitively like, oh, no. The epidural, it doesn't cross into the baby's bloodstream. It's fine. You're like, ma'am, you literally can't smoke or drink or eat anything bad because it will cross into the baby's bloodstream. Right. I'm pretty sure like a 14-inch needle in your spine is going to get into your baby's bloodstream. You share everything with your baby.
Right. It stands to reason. I got to be honest, I didn't even really ask. That wasn't even on my mind if drugs would get into my baby's bloodstream.
By the way, I'm not saying I care. I'm just saying it's like one of those things. It's like one of those things that's said to just make you like be like, oh, okay, yeah. Leaving my dog is fine. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. The baby.
I'm just saying it's probably something I should have asked, but I really didn't even ask. I just was like, I was being self-centered at that moment.
I think it's great to be self-centered in all moments. I wish I could be more self-centered in moments.
Oh my gosh.
Diggs. Ooh, I was talking about those dogs that are a part of our families. Our little dogs with their periods and they're missing us so much. And listen, we want them to feel comfortable and cozy and keep them safe and protected. And that is Diggs' mission too. It's Diggs, Diggs. Diggs is a company that's dedicated to improving the safety, happiness, and health of our pets with their smart and stylish and easy-to-use pet products. We got Diggs' Revel collapsible dog crate for jeans.
Collapsible dog crate. Yeah, it's so genius.
It's their most popular product. I understand why, because it is very easy. Can be raised and collapsed with just one hand. It's very easy to be transportable. It's easy to clean. And
it's pretty cute.
Is cute. That's, you know what? You know what, guys? Other than being safe, then number 2 for me is cute. And it is super cute. And also they have Diggs 5-star crash test rated passenger travel carrier, which is small enough to fit under an airline seat, but has plenty of space for your dog, your little companion.
They have lots of products. My dogs love this spread that you spread on the little licky thing that goes on their crate.
Yes.
It's delicious to them.
Well, not to us. We don't know. It might be. We don't know.
I might taste it.
You could. I mean, I don't want to, but you could. But guys, check out all the products, the wonderful products that Diggs has to offer, and make your pets more comfortable and cozy. And as if it is even possible, they may even love you a little bit more. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire Diggs order. To get the offer, you need to go to diggs.pet and use promo code BUSY15. That's DIGGS.PET with promo code BUSY15 to get 15% off. Order today. Go to diggs.pet and use promo code BUSY15.
Do it.
Faria. You know, it's like my favorite. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love singing that song. It sounds like it's from the 70s. It just makes me happy.
Well, it makes sense because we love Foria.
We love Foria. What's Foria? If you don't know now, you're not paying attention to our ads. Also, if you don't know now, by now, you've been missing out on the best sex of your damn life. the best orgasms you've ever had.
True.
Listen, Foria is a company that makes products. Like I literally am like, I'm just thinking on my toes on how to explain this to you. A company that makes products
that makes sex better.
It makes sex better, especially if you are a person with a labia, vulva, vagina,
all those things.
But people with penises like it too. They've got Awaken Arousal Oil. They've got a sex oil. They've got like different kinds of oils that just, what's the one? The relief suppositories even for like when you're getting your period and it's like a little crampy and hurts. You can put one of those little relief oils up there and it's incredible. But let's get to the real. You want better sex. Foria is using all natural plant-based ingredients to intensify sexual pleasure and relieve discomfort. They have a very serious cult following with tens of thousands of people who've had their sex lives transformed through their products. They have amazing testimonials, like the guy who says that when his wife gets on top, they come so hard that they see sounds and hear colors when they use the sex oil and Awaken Arousal Oil together. Guys,
don't take our word for it.
That guy is real. That's a real guy. And also just like, why not? Why not try it?
It's so good. And if you need permission to try this, then we're giving you permission.
Yeah, this is us giving you permission. We fully endorse you to go ahead, treat yourself to more, deeper, fuller pleasure wherever you can find it and as often as possible. And you should start with a bottle of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/best or use code BEST at the checkout. That's FORIA wellness.com/best for 20% off your first order. We really recommend the Awaken Arousal Oil and Sex Oil combo. You're going to thank us later.
Well, so you're going to dog sit in Arizona and
maybe. We'll see.
How long
there might be some other, we don't know. There might be other players that come.
There might be other. Would you be hurt if your brother-in-law and sister went with another dog caretaker over you for some reason?
For sure not.
Okay.
No, because I'm dealing with like two kids.
Yeah.
Birdie's still jet lagged, but like, you know, it's a full moon. Anything can happen.
It's true.
Anything.
Believe it.
Can happen.
My husband used to always, I think he always would be like, that's wild whenever I'd tell him like people act up on a full moon. But now that he works in a business where he works at night and has worked on many a full moon, he's like, that is 100% true.
It's crazy. People act crazy. Also, I do now think about the flight situation and delays now with then thinking about it in this like lead up to this big supermoon, like full moon thing. Maybe it makes a little bit more sense now. You know what I mean?
Maybe it makes sense. And also, you made lemons out of... No, you didn't make lemons out of it. You made lemonade out of lemons because you went on Substack and did like an AMA.
Oh, yeah, I did. That was super fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was good. You had
I hope
good
people
answers
enjoyed it.
for questions. And also, my sons did like a little AMA because people were asking for parenting content. And so I put up a post just saying if you want to ask some recently parented people what their opinions are.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. I should have looked at that.
Oh, they did a good job, I think. They didn't
I'm still working on part 2 of my thing. I'm going to post. I mean, I wasn't. It's almost done, but I was working on the plane and I couldn't do it. Like, guys, this is like inside baseball stuff, but like I couldn't do the editing in the thing. So I had to do a document. You know, I was just like writing it on a document and then I have to put it in and then like add the photos and all that shit.
Understood.
So I'm going to try to get that done depending on how needy my children are.
Okay,
the next
makes
24
sense.
hours.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think the guys enjoyed it. They didn't get to answer everyone's question, but I know they keep going back in and adding answers, which I think is kind of cool. It made me proud of them. My husband got in there and made some comments. Not that we're parenting experts, but we were just speaking to our experience.
I think that's okay, but that's like in my AMA, people asked me a few things that were like advice-y things.
Yeah.
And I do just feel like, I don't know. That's just the thing, guys. That's what advice is. Advice is like, we're not experts.
Right.
Advice is just advice. Lots of people have different advice. I always think it's great to get different.
Yeah. Here's what worked for us.
Yeah.
Might not work for you. I know I might have mentioned this before, but some writer who I really respect, and of course can't remember their name right now, on Twitter was just talking about, they said something that was like, personal to them, like their experience. And then somebody was like, you forgot about this group of people or whatever. And the writer was like, no, actually, I was just only talking about myself. And it's hard to be a concise and clear writer or speaker, for that matter, if you feel like you have to make a caveat for everything and say, like, this is just my experience, disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. Also, I'm not talking about this person, this person, this person. It's just easier to be specific about who you are talking about. And so in that case, we were talking about ourselves. This worked for us. Maybe you could try this. And everybody was really, really super nice about it. And everybody had great questions. And I think it's a good team over there on Substack, the people that have subscribed.
I think it's a great team.
Yeah.
Team Substack.
Yeah.
Team Bear on a Wire.
Team, if you haven't checked it out, there is a free subscription option, and I think all of the content so far has been free. It's bearonawire.substack.com. If you want to support it by subscribing, I think, Busy and I have always said that we'll try to think of something cool for the people who do support the work that we do over there. Something fun, something, a little treat.
A little treat.
But we'll figure that out. And also thanks to everyone who has subscribed and been patient while we figure out what the little treat is.
Oh, it's going to be good. Wait, am I the only one who, people have been talking about Ms. Marvel recently? And I think that they're talking about
Mrs. Maisel.
And I'm like, what are people what happens on Mrs. Maisel this year? It's crazy. This season seems nuts.
I mean, I did watch Mrs. Maisel.
Is it good?
I know people.
Miss Marvel or Mrs. Maisel? Which one did you watch?
I watched Mrs. Maisel. Lincoln will have probably watched Miss Marvel if I ask him. But Mrs. Maisel, it seemed less Amy Sherman Palladino-y this year. Is she?
Maybe she left.
I don't know. I didn't even read the credits.
Not so many top hats?
Not. There's always a lot of hats on that.
In case you don't know, Amy Sherman Palladino, that is my what? So my friend Lauren Ambrose,
yes,
the incredible actress Lauren Ambrose, did a pilot many years ago, post Gilmore Girls. Wait, had she done Amy Sherman Palladino had done Golden Girls. Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls.
Wait, I'm trying to remember though if she'd done 6 Feet Under yet. Lauren had done 6 Feet Under yet, or if it was right after that. I don't know. But she did this pilot that Amy Sherman Palladino was exec producing and had written, and it was a sitcom, a full sitcom.
Yeah.
And it starred Lauren and Parker Posey, and boy, was it fucking weird. I went to the taping of it. Wow. It did not get picked up.
Yeah.
But it was, I remember being this is strange, a strange vibe, strange thing. But Amy Sherman Palladino was wearing the biggest top hat I'd ever seen. And then I feel always at awards shows, whenever she would get, she
wears a ringmaster costume, kind of a top hat and a very, usually a really cool jacket and like some type of fancy skirt. I feel like I've seen her wear. Yeah, she's the greatest show woman. I feel like.
But you know what? It is like she does have like a very specific vibe and a very specific vibe of her writing and stuff. So that's interesting.
Yes, like that's like rapid fire dialogue, which I don't think they had so much of this season. But you know, if you watched Gilmore Girls, you know that like that back and forth patter that like Lauren Graham is so good at. She's such a genius at it. But it seemed like it had less of that. It seemed like it was a little more relaxed this season.
Well,
I liked it though. I love the guy who plays Lenny Bruce. I always forget his name, and he's so wonderful in my opinion. And of course, I love Lenny Bruce because not only was he like a genius, groundbreaking comedian.
Prince. Tell me about Prince.
No,
Prince
it's not about Prince. Oh. It's about Joan.
I thought you were going to give me like a tie between Prince and Lenny Bruce, and I was like, this is one I gotta hear.
No, I don't. I mean, maybe there is one. Who knows? But Joan loved Lenny Bruce.
You would know.
Yeah, I would be able. Yeah,
you would know.
It's true. It's true.
Okay, Joan.
I've not made that connection, but Joan Rivers loved Lenny Bruce. She had a huge crush on him. I think in that interview, that like long lost interview that we put up on this podcast one week, she talked a little bit about it, about how he went to see her and left her. She bombed, and he left her a note saying you were right and they were wrong. And
yes. I do remember that.
She carried it around for years. And she also wrote a play about his mom that she had dreamed of bringing to Broadway because his mom was also a comedian. Sally Mart and Her Escorts is the name of the play. I don't know if it's possible to like read the script of it or whatever, but that was like always, whenever I talked to Joan when she was alive, it was always just, there was always some talk of like, could Sally Mart and Her Escorts ever come back to theater?
Well, we love it.
You never know.
You never know.
Melissa Rivers. Maybe she'll do it someday. Anyway.
Wait, there was something else I wanted to ask you about that's happened recently.
The zit in my nose?
No. Oh, did it go away?
It wasn't a zit.
What was it?
It was a bacterial infection.
Oh, yeah. Of course it was.
So I had to I went to an amazing dermatologist. Her name was Dr. Mavis Billups.
Excuse me?
Mavis Billups. Mavis Billups, meet Busy Phillips. She was great and so nice, and she put me on some pretty heavy duty antibiotics. And today is the first day I feel like the swelling went down, and I did not realize how much having like a swollen nostril was restricting my breathing. So right now I'm basically drunk on oxygen.
And it restricts your breathing, but also like being in like low grade pain is kind of intense.
Yeah, it's tiring.
It's tiring.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware of it.
Like, yeah, it's true. It's true. You're just like, I mean, the weirdest thing for me is, have you ever worn like clip-on earrings?
Oh God. Or a tight headband. It's the same thing.
Yes, I cannot. I don't even try with a headband.
Fucking worst.
But there have been times when I've had a clip-on earring before and been like, oh my God, I think I'm having like an aneurysm or something. And then for whatever reason, I just
realized it's a clip-on earring.
Snatch that earring off and feel instantly better. Our bodies are so weird.
Yeah.
So weird.
So weird. Okay, wait. I had something else to tell you, though, or to talk about, or to discuss, the Lea Michele casting. Will you explain it to me? I don't understand. Why is it so controversial? Okay. Like, I thought that everybody knew she was going to do it. What was the thing? Somebody explain it.
Okay. First of all,
you guys, sometimes on Busy Tonight, we would do a thing where I would come in and I'd be like, can someone just explain to me what happened on Twitter last night? Because I don't understand. And it was like all these people I know and I'm friends with. And like, I kind of am just like, shrug emoji.
Yeah.
And then someone would break it down for me. So here we go. In case you too were like, wait, why do people care? Why is this such a big deal? We know Beanie Feldstein, come on, Busy. We know Beanie Feldstein was like,
who's great, a great comedic actress.
Yes, but she was dragged.
She was cast in this
by
revival
Hollywood.
Funny Girl.
No, not Hollywood.
By the theater.
By the theater.
Yeah. And
Commune.
So the feeling was that when you do a role that Barbra Streisand originated, I think that's really hard to compete with on a singing level, especially. So what I had heard was that Beanie was really funny and the acting was great, but like the singing, wasn't Barbra. Barbra level. Who is?
Yeah, I mean, but also I think it wasn't. I think that I saw Beanie in Hello Dolly several years ago with Bet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And she was great, but she doesn't have like a trained Broadway voice. It's not just like she's not Barbra. She doesn't have like I don't have that.
Like pipes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a little bit more than her, but you know what I mean? Like I might. I'm just being honest. Just being honest.
Yeah. That is like what the prevailing thing was. So that, and it's common on Broadway. If you don't know, I'm sure a lot of you know that like people, they get switched out. They don't renew their roles. Like I was saying, I went to see one of Lin-Manuel's last performances as Alexander Hamilton because he was like stepping out of the show. That's totally normal. And sometimes it's like because you're tired, and sometimes it's because the producers decided to make a change.
And sometimes it's like, it's just time. Like you've been in the show for X amount of
and
months. Your contract is up, and instead of renewing, you're like, I'd like to move on to something else.
Yeah, time to mix it up.
Right.
So that was happening, I guess, and I think that the rumor was that Lea Michele was going to step in, and of course it got everyone's imagination going. One, because like if you were a Glee fan, about Funny Girl and Lea Michele, and
Okay, I don't really know this. What? This is the part that I'm missing. I think maybe I wasn't really a Glee fan.
Okay. I mean, it's been a long time since I watched Glee, but I think we know that Rachel Berry, it was her dream to play Funny Girl on Broadway. And so I'm reading from Variety.com. Lea Michele's Glee rendition of People comes in the episode New York, where Rachel is getting ready for opening night of Funny Girl. Michele performs The Standard, which became a successful single for Streisand, in a montage showing the cast adjusting to life in New York. So I think it was season 5 of Glee. Rachel starred on Broadway as Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. So that's like, everybody who's like a Glee head or whatever, that's one of those shows that people like remain very
loyal
and still love to talk about Glee. So everybody thought Lea Michele was going to step in. And then of course there was the controversy with some of her former castmates and people that she had worked with on Glee saying that she was actually not the best as a person.
Right, that she was super toxic and that
she had bad behavior.
Yeah, and that racist? Was that one of the accusations? Because I feel like it was.
I think the woman said, I'm not saying that she's racist, but she has to work on her behavior. So that's, a lot of people are like, she shouldn't be cast in this because if she's difficult to work with. And Lea Michele has apologized for her behavior, whether or not the people that she was not the best to have accepted her apology. there's, probably a million different answers for that. So I think the point was that this was all supposed to happen maybe in September, I think. And then the change was just very sudden. They announced Lea Michele, and they announced that she was stepping into the show, and then they announced kind of instantly that it was like happening now. And so instead of happening in the fall, I think it was supposed to happen.
I see.
So, yeah. And the actress that had spoken out about Lea Michele, by the way, her name is Samantha Ware.
I have to say, you're doing really great research on the fly.
I know, because it's so hard for me to remember all these people. Like, I always want to call Lea Michele, like you and the YouTubers, and her name is Lea. But I believe that actress Samantha Ware said, am I saying she's racist? No, I'm saying has racist tendencies, I believe is what she said. So, yeah, I think that's the surprise. And I think, my friend Tim Carvel, he tweeted, I think he said, it's somehow if Glee also became Smash.
I saw that.
He's like, he said it's like if someone wished on a monkey's paw that Glee could also become Smash. And I was like, I'm not sorry that I wished that. But that's about my love of Smash mostly. But yeah, so it's very, what I have to say is that it sucks that anyone's feelings are hurt. But are Beanie's feelings hurt? If I'm making any of this, I don't know how I could be making this up, but so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that's gotta hurt. You entered into this thing with the highest hopes that you would, of course, you would crush it, and and also that people would give you room to learn it and get great at it or whatever. You hope. Yeah, that's why we do these things. Mm-hmm. But I do have to say that I was a little delighted by some low stakes drama, where it's supposed to be in the theater. The theater's supposed to be dramatic. I used to work with people who were costumers on Broadway and who were swings on Broadway, musicians in Broadway pits and all kinds of things. And I really did love the stories of it gets very all about Eve backstage sometimes, or it used to. And so I do kind of like hearing those stories. If
it's
nobody
wholesome.
It's kind of wholesome,
it's
not
wholesome.
Not like toxicity on behind the scenes on Glee, where people seem to still be deeply affected by it. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how many people line up to see Lea Michele, because it seems like a lot of people still are, kind of holding her accountable for her past behavior. But then it seems like a lot of people are like, I'm ready to line up to go see that. So
I just saw Lea Michele in person.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Just walking down the street?
No. We chatted. We were at the same event thing.
Oh, okay.
And I used to see her at Soul Cycle years ago in Los Angeles.
Right.
And so this was several weeks ago. How long have I been traveling? 8 weeks? 9? I'm kidding. I feel like I've been gone forever. But yeah, it was several weeks ago. Oh, well, it was early June. It was early June.
Yeah.
And yeah, we ran into each other at this event thing, the Alice and Olivia party. Remember that thing that I went, and yeah, I think we took a picture together. We chatted.
All right.
She was like, we moved back to New York. I'm so happy here. I love it here. I'm like, that's fantastic. I knew nothing of anything that was happening. But yeah, she was super nice to me.
Yeah, that's
at a party.
At a party.
Chatting.
Yeah. Just speaking for that moment. She was nice in that moment.
But also, can I just be real? I was on a teen show where people were assholes.
Yeah, of course.
And a thing that happens is that sometimes when people first come to Hollywood and they find success, they're dicks. I hope that she's like been able to make amends for any aggressions, micro or macro, that she had toward that actress, and that she's like been able to take it in and look at her behavior and see where her responsibility is, and like where maybe she had some, racist thoughts, tendencies, or whatever, like how we all have to like
do the
continually do our own work.
Yeah.
But she's like an adult now.
Yeah.
Not that she wasn't an adult technically on that show, but I think she was like in her early 20s, right?
That's a good question. I always assume that every teenager on television is 44 years old, but
not true. I was 19. I was an actual teen.
Oh my gosh. I know. Well, yeah. Lea Michele was 23 years old when she was cast on Glee.
When people are like, oh, so you had shitty behavior at 23 and now you're 33, and can you, now are you just like, are you canceled or whatever? And it's like, I do feel like people get very reductive in their thinking about these things. Like, not every situation is exactly the same. I can't even speak to this one because I don't fucking know. Right. I'm literally asking you about it.
Yeah, I'm telling you everything that I know about what I've read.
I'm saying, like, I've certainly worked with people and I've heard stories about people in Hollywood who are like assholes,
Right. Sure, for sure.
And I've, I know them, like, and it doesn't matter. Like, their motivation is just their own narcissism and insecurity.
Right.
Like, and they're not even, they can't dig deep at all. And they'll be a dick to anyone.
Right. And I think there are people that act like that for years and years and never, like, it's just something that people talk quietly about and not publicly about, and no one ever like intervenes. So, Hollywood can be like a pretty toxic place.
Oh my God, I bought at the airport, just because I had read everything else.
Yeah.
I bought the People magazine that had Hayden Panettiere on the cover because I was like,
oh, right.
I was like a big Heroes fan.
Yeah.
You were expecting me to say Nashville. No.
I love Nashville
was a big
as well.
Heroes fan.
Both.
Save the Cheerleader, Save the World.
Save the World.
And Zach Quinto.
Yes.
Love that guy. First starring role. Anyway, and I was really sad to read about what, like, she, like, her, she's like now sober, and she's, essentially she's on a new show, and she talks about how she like really spiraled out of control. And I do think that, I mean, she's been acting literally since she was a baby.
Yeah.
She's one of those kids who whose mom like put her in
commercials, or
she was on like General Hospital when she was like a baby.
Huh.
Anyway, but my heart sort of broke for her because I felt like, I mean, and obviously maybe a lot of this is projecting too, but I just think about my own experiences and my own moments in my life where you have success, but like it's not filling the hole, and you're really unhappy, and you're drinking, and you're making weird relationship choices and all of these things.
Yeah.
And I just like felt this thing from her in the interview that she's like not able to forgive herself and go easy on herself about it. And like the fact that she did it all while like this culture, like celebrity tabloid culture, was at its peak.
Yeah.
I think only just exacerbated and made it like almost impossible for her to be able to like just go through something and then like come out on the other side of it. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of that generation, like the generation like one younger than me in Hollywood, really got kind of super fucked on.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it just didn't exist in the way the internet didn't exist, in the way camera phones did not exist, period.
Right.
Like, it just was way easier to be, because think about your own 20s, guys.
Oh, well, I was just saying
like
to
your
myself,
own early 20s.
like I was probably a dick more times than I can remember when I was like, you know, up until probably, who knows? Like your brain doesn't grow all the way in until you're 25. That's what I always tell my sons. It's true. Your brain's not fully developed until you're 25. But like, here's the thing where it gets complicated and it's interesting is that like if you're being self-destructive, then I guess people are willing to give you forgiveness, but it's hard because it seems like it's hard for you to forgive yourself. If you're being destructive to other people, it matters if you like apologize and try to make it as right as you can make it, but also you can't undo the hurt that you did to someone. No, even if you do so much work, you can't like ever go back in time and change the way that you treated someone. And so it then becomes...
and the effect you had on them.
The
and
impact that, like...
Right, and the impact that had, right.
And it's interesting because in the case of Lea Michele, I don't think that this woman who spoke up or said anything ever like called for her to be canceled or whatever, because we know that's fake, right? We know that no one is ever truly canceled because... people keep coming back, you know, no one's ever really canceled. But that woman has a right to tell her story, and it seems like she still feels that way. So, you know, that's where it gets weird, you know, because then it's like on the public and the business to decide like, well, do we want to work with this person? That's why I'll be interested to see like how many people are like, no, Lea Michele's not for me, versus how many people are like, well, I'll go see her anyway because she's like a hell of a singer, you know, like I think
people are going to go see her.
I think so
100%.
I think so too.
No, I mean, I think it's going to be gangbusters.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I do, you know, I guess I mean, I've told you this before, right? Like that this girl I'm friends with and have known for a really long time, she works in the business. She's a manager. And she said, like, in order to have longevity in Hollywood, you have to be really talented, incredibly hardworking, and generate goodwill. And you can exist in Hollywood for a certain period of time with only 2 of the 3, occasionally with 1 of the 3. But if you are not all 3 of those things, your career will dwindle no matter if you're a man or a woman or whatever. Like it will go away from you because if you don't generate and generating goodwill is the piece that I feel like a lot of people miss out on, especially if they find a lot of success early or if they have just a great deal of success and they think it's never going to end for them. They think that they can kind of get away with like behaving any way they want, or they think they're entitled to behave a certain way because whatever, it was modeled for that. I don't even fucking know. People are so weird. They just are. They're so weird.
Yeah. Well, here's what I hope. I hope that people check out Samantha Ware because she's been on a lot of great shows.
Yeah.
She was on Glee for, I think, 11 episodes. And from what she said, you know, she felt discouraged by the way that she was treated on the set of Glee, and people sort of concurred with her. But she's been on Barry. She's been on Chicago Med. She's been on Bull. She's been on Doom Patrol, and now she's been on this show All Rise, which I haven't been watching, but she's obviously very talented and shouldn't have been discouraged by anyone.
Oh, she's very beautiful.
Yes, she's very beautiful and clearly very talented. And so, you know, and I hope that someday, if there's something to be made right, if it's possible to make it more right than it is, then I hope that that's what happens, because you deserve that if you feel like someone did you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, has anyone ever, like, apologized to you for...
James Franco did.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, that's a controversial thing for me to even say on this fucking podcast, and you guys are all my friends.
Yeah.
You know, like, he did, but that was like, you know.
Well, he apologized to you for something that transpired between the two of you, but
Right.
Certainly doesn't.
Well, I don't know. It
doesn't extend to
doesn't extend to anything else. Like,
right.
I mean, no.
Right.
Like,
right.
obviously.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, my issues. I mean, he was horrible. I mean, I write about it in my book, and then it became that's the whole thing.
Yeah. It's complicated. I love that there's backstage Broadway drama, but also, like, please know that I know that part of the drama surrounds serious allegations.
Mm-hmm. Sakara life. Everybody wants to get into Sakara life. I don't know.
That was very Broadway musical-y.
I know. I was feeling inspired. But also, you know what? This new moon is good for resetting, like, health and wellness, and just make sure you feel great. Eat light. Don't, you know, like, just like, not eat light. Well, it's not like light. Just like eat, like, nourishing your soul and your body. Food as medicine.
Food as medicine. If you've been thinking about doing something like this, why not today? Like, today is the perfect time to start.
Yeah. Delicious, plant-rich meals, functional wellness essentials that build a foundation for radiant health. That's what they say. What I say is that they deliver me delicious meals to my door that I don't have to think about, but that I know my skin glows. I know that after 2 days, I'm, like, not craving the cupcakes at night. I know that I don't wake up starving. I know that it's enough food that I'm, like, very full when I'm finished eating my meal and snacks. And I know that it all tastes so delicious.
Yeah, because they're chef crafted, you know, it's not just
a random lady.
It's not just like a random lady. It's not just a random
person throwing some plants together.
It's like legitimate chefs thoughtfully putting together delicious foods that will delight your palate, while also, in my case, not making me feel terrible, because that would be my tendency to always eat things that make me feel terrible.
Yeah. And it's all very powerful plant-based ingredients. And it really does boost your energy and supports your digestion, sort of like really resets your system and heals your body inside and out. And really, you glow. You just glow. Anyway, we're fans. I've been giving them a rave review for many, many, many years now. And Sakara has also received rave reviews from Vogue and Goop and the New York Times. I've been a customer. I've been a promoter of it. I've just returned to it again and again because I really do love it. I very much encourage you, if this, I don't know who needs to hear this. Maybe it's you today. Check out Sakara. You're going to love it. And right now, Sakara is offering our listeners 20% off their first order when they go to sakara.com/busy or enter code busy at the checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/busy to get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/busy. Ooh, ZocDoc. Is that how you found your derm?
I was just going to say, guess how I found Dr. Mavis Billups?
ZocDoc. ZocDoc. Tell me about your ZocDoc experience with Mavis Billups.
It was so great. I picked Dr. Mavis because she had really high ratings on ZocDoc. And then I was delighted to discover that she had an appointment. She had many appointments open the very next day. So I was able to make an appointment for the next day instead of living with this painful, what I thought was a pimple in my nose, but it turned out that it was not.
It's like it maybe was at some point, but then it just turned into an infection and like.
Yeah. And so Dr. Billups was able to have me in, and she deserved those high ratings because, like I was saying earlier, she was amazing. And you know what I even love so much about her is that she gave me a prescription and a topical prescription, but then she included, with the topical ointment, she included a second tube in case anyone in my house happened to like catch this nose infection. So just in case, which I thought was great. She's really knows her stuff.
Well, guys, if you don't know yet, now you do. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient reviewed. They take your insurance and are available when you need to see them. You can literally find every specialist under the sun. When I was in New York and was like crying, and all my fancy friends were like calling their fancy ear, nose, and throat doctors trying to get me in. And I literally found a guy on ZocDoc who ended up being like the greatest doctor of all and is now my sinus doctor in New York. So that's all I'm saying is that ZocDoc has come through for me where fancy friends have failed.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, like, you know, I think the reason that ZocDoc is so good is because of the accessibility. Like, that's one of the most frustrating things about healthcare is that it's always just this Byzantine, like filling out forms.
Insane.
and just trying to get an appointment and being told you have to wait months and months and they don't take your insurance. With ZocDoc, like, you know right away which they show you doctors that take your insurance. If you have insurance, they spell out the doctor's policies, and they even had me fill out all of my paperwork ahead of time just on my phone. It took like 5 minutes. And then so I was just able to walk into my appointment and not have to sit there and fill out a dozen forms.
Yeah, no, it's literally the ZocDoc's mobile app is like using like any app that you use to get your, you know, catch a ride to a restaurant or getting food delivered to your house. It's literally that easy. I'm not kidding. You guys, you got to get to ZocDoc.com, find the doctor that's right for you, book an appointment in person or remotely that works for your schedule. Millions of people use ZocDoc every month. We are two of them. It's our go-to whenever we need to find and book quality doctors. I'm a believer. I love it. Go to ZocDoc.com/doingherbest and download the ZocDoc app for free, and then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/doingherbest. ZocDoc.com/doingherbest. Wait, you know what? I've never seen Funny Girl. I haven't even seen the Barbra Streisand one.
Oh, you've not seen?
No.
Huh.
I'm going to say something now. Like, I love theoretically Barbra Streisand.
Okay.
But I like really have not consumed a lot of Barbra Streisand's oeuvre.
That's understandable.
I just like, I watched Hello Dolly.
Yeah, sure.
Because I loved that show.
Yeah.
And I never saw Funny Girl, which seems weird, but I didn't. I just never watched it. And you remember seeing the one with Nick Nolte where she's like the therapist and she's got beautiful fingernails. I don't remember I remember watching Coffee Talk on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And like not understanding it at all. Like, and just being like, that's what in my head, in my childhood, like that's what Barbara Streisand was like something about that skit on SNL. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
And I just wasn't like, I don't know. And I mean, I think my mom was a fan, but I don't ever remember like hearing her songs or her music or whatever. Wait, all of this to say, can I tell you an embarrassing story?
Please
in which I was like, I don't know. I mean, I was postpartum, so let's give me a break. But like the first season on Cougar Town,
yeah,
we were on set one day and I was like tired and I had like, Birdie was like whatever, I was nursing. And I was just sort of like zoning out. And Courtney was like, we were around the island and Courtney was like telling this story. This is actually really embarrassing. I can't believe I'm telling this story right now. But I learned something really valuable from Courtney Cox. It wasn't this exact moment, but like it actually it ties in. So
okay,
I'll get to that too. And she was talking about how something happened, it finally happened, and like she was going to get to go over and have dinner at Barbara Streisand's or something like that. And I was like, I think I was making a face like I'm making right now, where I'm like, like kind of squinty, like trying to understand something face, guys, for you at home. I have no poker face. And she was like, why are you looking at me like that? And I was like, oh, Barbara Streisand, I don't care. Something like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, it's just not for, I don't know. It's just not for me. I don't care. And she was like, whoa. Wait, what? You don't, what? Like, how? Like, what? And she was so like taken aback by it. And I realized like that what I had done was, in the absence of information, I defaulted to negative, which is like a thing my therapist and I talk about. Like sometimes, a lot of times, frequently with people, in the absence of information, they default to negative. And instead of just saying like, what's crazy? I like obviously she's an icon, but like, I just like really never grew up listening to her or watching her movies or anything. I don't really know her stuff, but that's like amazing. Good for you. You're obviously a huge fan. And instead of doing that, which is like what a normal person should do. And I hope that if you're listening at home, maybe that's who you would be. But I was just like, I don't know. It's not for me. Good for, like I didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like I like shit on it. Like I was just like, okay.
You yucked her yum.
I yucked her yum, which is an expression I fucking hate. So am I yucking your yum by doing that?
No.
Can we come up with something else for that?
Yeah. Well,
I ewed her yay. No, that's gross too. I just was like an asshole. I was just like I just wasn't really thinking of being in that moment that like she was sharing a thing with us that was like very exciting and like a big deal to her. And I was like, okay. Like just totally, but not because I know Barbara Streisand's work and I'm like, it's not for her.
Yeah.
No.
I've like evaluated.
I've evaluated it and I've decided it's not my cup of tea. No, it literally is just like I wasn't exposed. I don't know it. And anyway, I felt really like she kind of like went hard on me about it.
Yeah.
And I remember I was so embarrassed, like just feeling like, why did you do that? Like, why couldn't you have just been like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It doesn't fucking matter in that moment.
Yeah.
But I guess I was just like at work, like mid to end of day, I'm fucking tired. And I was just like, okay, like who cares? Wow. Anyway, really felt like an asshole. Learned a good, valuable lesson about not yucking at yums. But here's another thing that I learned from Courtney, which I think I've said before publicly, but maybe not. I don't fucking know. Who cares? Courtney, I was always super impressed by her ability to ask questions. Like, I am a person who was always made to feel, and have been in ways big and small, by strangers and friends and family alike, a fucking idiot, Caissie. And one of my like coping defense mechanisms was that I would always like just go along with it and think I would either figure it out later. I would look
intuit it.
I will infer the information that I need to. I did great. Killed it on the verbal section of my SATs. Like, I know how to do this. Like, I can fake it, And I do have to say, it's like several times, it's not like it's gotten me into any bad situations where I'm like all of a sudden like standing in the middle of nowhere with like a shovel and a dead body or something. But like it has maybe what it has is that I've missed out on things that could either have been like interesting or something that could have done something for me in some way, right? Information that like would have been useful for me to have.
Or you get there like the hard way.
Or then I get there the hard way. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like totally. And I loved Courtney's ability to like just be like, wait, what is that? I don't know what that book is. What is that? Or like, what is that? Who is that guy? Like, well, it's the Secretary of Defense. Oh, okay. I didn't know his name. Okay, keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like not in a way that ever was like, and even if it was like occasionally she's like, you use big words. Sometimes I need to ask you what the words mean.
Right.
Truly. Because she's like, I'm not a person that uses big words.
Yeah.
And like she had no judgment about it on herself.
Yeah.
And ergo, I realized like the way that she would, there was no judgment. I had no judgment. Like, and then it dawned on me that maybe if you cannot judge yourself, you will be free of judgment, period.
Yeah.
Because literally, who gives a fuck if somebody else is judging you for a question that you're asking or whatever, as long as you can feel like free of the judgment of that it brings, right? Does that make sense?
I mean, I love hearing that about her because, well, you judge yourself because you feel like you're not intelligent if you have to ask a question. But because she was so free to ask questions, she probably wound up knowing so many more things.
That's right. That was like the realization that I had. And like for some reason the Barbra Streisand thing was like a small distillation of that, in that like I defaulted to just being like kind of a dick.
Yeah.
In the space of not knowing.
Yeah.
And I could have just been excited for her and then said like, I don't really know Barbra Streisand stuff. What should I watch? Like, what's great?
Right. Yeah.
But I was like embarrassed to admit that I didn't know her stuff. And so like,
you went in another direction and then it was regrettable.
Yeah. And I do think that like, that's like, in my book, that guy that was so shitty to me about the award situation.
Right.
Who then wrote me the dumbest, scathing email before my book came out about how he had heard that I had a takedown of him in the book. And I was like, first of all, calm down. Secondly, no one cares. Third, like, yeah, you did a shitty thing. So what? Like, it is what it is,
Right.
And he was like, if I was, in his letter to me, he's like, if I was, as you recall it, it's only because I was probably very uncomfortable and insecure. And I did write back to him and I was like, yeah, dude, that's how being an asshole works. Like, no one is a dick because they think they're the greatest.
Right.
You're a dick because you're getting like, and then to circle it back to Lea Michele, she needs to look at her own fucking racial macro aggressions, because I can't speak to that part of it. But I do know that this beautiful young actress came in the final season of Glee, and she's obviously super talented. And so, ergo, stands to reason, the girl who was the like shiny bright object at the start of Glee is now like, fuck.
Feeling competitive.
Competitive and being an asshole because she's insecure and like, you know, like allowing that to control her.
And it's also, it's sad sometimes, like how long it takes us to learn these things, you know? Like, okay, I am where I am and I've been here for this amount of time. What am I insecure about? Like, what do I have to be insecure about?
Well, I wonder too, like, I don't know. This is just all occurring to guys. This is therapy for us this week. I also just wonder too, like, as we're talking about it, you know, I wonder if the part of like the self-flagellation thing and like being so hard, I'm super, super fucking hard on myself.
Yeah.
You know? And I wonder if like a person who has it outwardly is not also super, super hard on themselves. Like, is it one or the other? Do you know what I mean?
I always wonder that about arrogance. Like if the person really thinks that they're the shit or if they think that they are shit. You know?
Deep down.
Yeah. And so, you know, I wonder that because arrogance, I think, is like a dressed up version of insecurity.
My God, did you watch that, the Senator Hawley?
Oh, yes. Where
with the professor?
Yeah, when she explained to him that his comments were transphobic.
Which
he really thought it was like a gotcha moment. And she just like...
She literally, it was like, so few things have like brought me any amount of like satisfaction politically in the last several weeks, many months, years.
Yeah.
And that exchange was so deeply satisfying to see him get. And it must have like, I hope he was able to really feel how humiliating that was. I
don't know. I mean, like, again, he was very arrogant. That is like a dressed up version of being insecure, I believe. And, you know, and to just be Josh Hawley, you have to be insecure because you're like just afraid of everything and fearful of all these things that there's no need to fear. And I was just so happy that she came with the information. She said it so clearly and calmly that I was like, did he even feel that? Like, did he even feel that knife going in?
But see, that's why I wonder if he did. So like, just speaking for myself, guys, when I testified before Congress, you know, and I knew that like they were going to come after me because I'm an actor and like they can't really go after, I don't know, whatever. They can go after whoever the fuck they want. But like, especially Louis Gohmert, like wanted to get on TV. And I'm sure he wanted like a good sound bite from the thing. So like, I knew he was going to come for me. And I really wish, it's funny because I do wish I could do it today as opposed to back then.
Right.
But I was so, oh my God, scared. I was scared. Like I was really, really fucking scared.
Yeah.
And really intimidated. And I allowed myself to be really intimidated by the whole experience of the thing. Also, it was just like a lot. It was just very overwhelming. And even though I was able to get like one fucking zing in with what's his name, I did. I managed.
Louis.
I managed to get one like zinger in that like made him look like a fucking idiot, but it was like not how this lady did it. This was like the greatest thing I've seen. She was so calm.
Yeah. And she just knew her shit, and she had the conviction of like what she was saying. If you haven't seen it, it's worth, and I don't know if Josh Hawley has the capability of knowing how brutally he was taken to school in that moment. I don't know if he has that capacity, but what I do hope is that it turned on a light bulb for so many people that watched it, because it went super viral. And I think that what Josh Hawley was trying to say, and he is odious, he's deplorable, as some people would like to say, but some of the things that he was trying to say are talking points that I hear liberal people repeating as well about, about gender and just making transphobic comments. And so without, like, I don't know if it's because they're resistant or because they just haven't learned yet, or because, I don't know, like maybe they are transphobes, and that's something that we have to reckon with. So I just hoped that because it went so viral and because people were so delighted by Josh Hawley just getting absolutely spanked, that I hoped that hearing that flipped a switch for some people who are like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Wait. Berkeley law professor.
Women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
So your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important.
Because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get pregnant.
So you are denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
Absolutely.
Or are they also treated like this? Where
No,
they're told that they're
question.
Opening up people to violence?
We have a good time in my class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Used a phrase.
Fuck. Guys.
She did such a great job. Kira Bridges, Professor Kira Bridges.
She's a fucking hero.
So, it's interesting, and I hope she just explained it very plainly in a way that, like I said, I've seen some more liberal people being like, I don't get it and I don't get why. And she just explained it in a way where I hope people that, we kind of have to rely on to fight the good fight are like, oh, okay, I understand now. No one's trying to erase women. We're just trying to be inclusive of everyone who this affects. And yes, women are the majority of people that are in the center of this.
Right.
But it
it's
includes,
not like she said, like, here's the thing. And this is life. This is like what life is, guys. Is being able to recognize when sometimes things are not mutually exclusive and you have to be able to hold multiple truths. Multiple things can be true at one time. And it doesn't take anything away from my experience as a woman to include trans folk in the discussion about reproductive justice. It takes nothing, in fact, away from me.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am a person who learned in my activism, also in the last just few years, to, just change my language. And I do say pregnant people when I'm talking about, when I'm like doing any activism stuff or like, giving interviews or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like to me in that space, oh my God, and circling back to the very beginning of this call.
Of this podcast.
To me in that space, it's super fucking vitally important that I say that I use gender inclusive language when I'm talking about reproductive justice and reproductive rights in the country.
Yeah, it's important. And also like, it's also just quicker and clearer. And I think like the thing that is tripping people up maybe a little bit is like when you are talking about your experience with reproductive health, you're talking about a cisgender woman's experience with reproductive health. When you're speaking generally about the concept of reproductive health, then you're using inclusive language that includes everyone who is being affected by it. It's like, it doesn't mean that you can't still have your personal story. It doesn't mean that your identity is being erased. It's just, it's it's so funny. Like, it all goes to like this conversation that I feel like has been bubbling up a lot too. It like fragility around, say, like people are like white women have to do better at the ballot box. And then whenever someone will say that, you'll see in the comments people being like, I'm a white woman and I voted for so-and-so and so-and-so. And I've been fighting this fight for and I'm always like, then they're not talking to you. They were saying white women in general.
Right.
But they weren't saying, Helen, you have to do better.
They were saying, no. By the way, Helen, maybe you do in some ways.
Maybe.
And like, that's what I'm saying. Like I sometimes when I hear, when I look or whatever, I'm like, how could I do better as a white lady?
Yeah.
I'm trying to at least. And I'm trying to be aware and I'm trying to learn new things. And I buy books.
Yeah.
I buy fucking books because I can't listen to a podcast. You know me, visual learner.
One time a friend of mine said, if it doesn't sound like I'm talking about you, I'm not talking to you. Like you can just let it go by.
Like that.
Yeah. So, and I was like, okay, I finally got it. Like that's just her saying that so many years ago really, like, I think saved me from being as fragile as sometimes I think people can be, because I was like, oh, I'm tough. Like I can rationally see when people are talking about like just the demographics of like the way that we vote, that white women voted.
But also just like the fact that, I mean, I didn't understand. I mean, I literally didn't understand what white privilege was when I was like, until I got to college and like was literally in a class, and like even then I still didn't kind of get it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have to like continually dig deep.
Right. Well, I think that I don't want to say naturally, but I think that our culture makes it so that we're all so defensive that we can't hear anything. And so, when you have been in a relationship, if you're defensive constantly in a relationship, it's like, it's not good. It's not good for the relationship. It becomes very quickly toxic. And, so the thing that I try to remember is that like, and it's not always easy because like, it really does fucking sting when someone tells you that, you're not getting it, it really does. But I always try to remind myself that when someone tells me something like that, it took a lot of courage for them to say something to me, and that they were trusting that it was worth saying something to me because they had faith that I could get it,
Yeah.
and so, and it is a favor and it is generous. And obviously, again, I'm only speaking to my own experience. I think that it's kind of like an act of faith and an act of generosity. And it takes a lot of guts for someone to come up and tell you, like, because I'm just going on myself. When I have to tell someone something hard, I don't love it. I'm not like rushing to do it or whatever, you know, especially if I care about the person. Nobody wants to be like the bearer of bad news. And sometimes we have to hear some bad news, you know, but I think that we're all so defensive that it gets wild. Like you just can't hear anything. And then it, you know, if you're on Twitter or whatever social media, you can just see it happening every day. Like someone will make a comment and then someone's defensive and then it spins off the rails and it just goes on. And people are not communicating well right now at all, probably myself included. But I just see it every day where I'm like, oh, these people aren't hearing each other. Like I'm watching this whole conversation play out and I can see that they're not hearing each other, or that one person's not hearing what the other person has to say. And they're continually defending themselves when also you could just be like, okay, I hear you, and like drop it. You know what I mean? Like I'll do better. But people just feel this need to like fight and defend themselves. And it's just like, whoo, I get it. Like I've felt that instinct myself in the past. It seems like it's really been an ongoing thing lately. Everybody's riled the fuck up.
Well, yes.
It makes sense.
I think it tracks. I'm going to say I think it tracks.
Yeah.
But I also wish that like we all could do a little bit of like resetting ourselves. And maybe I did read somewhere. Let me see if I screenshot it from one of the various like moon memes accounts I follow or whatever. That this full moon is maybe really good for letting things go, you know?
Yeah.
This one in particular, for whatever reason, you know, I don't know. There's like all these different things, different full moons. Caissie, you know.
Yeah.
Wait, also, this brings me to this. I do want to say something from the AMA because it connects.
Okay.
Multiple people like had some like questions about like, what crystals should I buy and da-da-da-da-da. And I did write this, so maybe you saw it. But okay, here's what I'm going to say about this. And this is like, I know this is where you got to do the Glennon Doyle thing where you sit in the closet or whatever and get quiet with yourself. Like, what is that from her book? You know, from the Untamed or Untamed?
Yeah.
Is that the name of the book?
Untamed, yeah.
I mean, if you had told me the name of the book was We Can Do Hard Things, I would be like, that's the name of the book.
Right. Well,
she really missed it with that one. Someone should have realized and said, Glennon, the name of your book is not Untamed. It's We Can Do Hard Things. Anyway, I'm kidding.
Well, maybe there's an We Can Do Hard Things book to come. I
know that there's a We Can Do Hard Things workbook, I think, or something. Anyway,
okay, all right.
Guys, this isn't about Glennon. This is about us.
You and
sitting
your
in
crystals.
The closet, getting crystals. No, but like in that book, she's like, you know, I like just got real quiet with myself. I just like kept going and returning to myself and getting real quiet. And that to me is the vibe with the crystals, because you really have to like get quiet with yourself, go to a crystal place or a thrift fair. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? A thrift fair is what I just called it. That's not what it's called.
That'd be fun. A flea market?
A flea market. Thank you. Like a flea market where there's crystals or whatever, and like see what you're drawn to, and then pick up the one that like literally you're like, that's the most beautiful one. I want that one in my pocket or on my necklace or whatever. And then see the attributes that crystal possesses. That's how I use crystals anyway. Yeah. It's like I do it like sort of intuitively. Can I tell you a crazy thing? When I was flying to Anguilla, a million years ago, the flight attendant came up to me. First of all, my first leg of that journey, I will say, those flight attendants were the greatest I've ever had in my life, and they were so cute.
Oh, great!
And they were lovely, and everybody was so sweet on that flight. And by the way, it's not the flight attendant's fault that American is failing us. American Airlines.
Outages. Yes.
Like American politics is failing us. Anyway, she was like, I really want to get more into crystals. I like love crystals, and I just like love all your necklaces. And I like, before I even knew who you were, and the guys, you know, the other flight attendant told me, I was just like, as soon as you walked on the plane, I just like loved your energy, and I was so grateful for it. And I was like, kind of just feeling like about this flight. And then like you were there, and you were so open. I just like, thank you for that. It was really cute. Aww. And she was like, but like, what kind of crystals should I get? Like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is what I'm saying. Like, people keep asking me this question. It's so interesting. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just do it. Exactly the same thing that I just said. I'm not going to repeat it. And then I was looking at her and I was like, but I feel like you should get malachite and wear malachite. I don't even know why, but like, I feel like you'd really like it. And she's like, okay. I don't have any malachite, by the way, on me. So anything that she was complimenting, whatever. I was thinking of this big malachite rock that I have in my apartment at Casa Kismet that I love. And it's like really beautiful. And just like, I don't know, for whatever reason, talking to this woman, I just like, that came into my head. So then she comes back like a bit later and she was like, so are you a seer or something? And I was like, what? And she was like, I just looked up malachite. It's like good for people that work in air travel and flight attendants and pilots. Oh, and I was like, what? I didn't know it. But anyway.
That's very cool.
See, let your intuition lead you to your crystals, y'all. True Bill. Now I'm really on a singing thing today. I think because of the podcast, that we talked about Broadway so much. What do you love about True Bill? Because I'll tell you what I love about True Bill.
Well, I just love being reminded by True Bill of things that I subscribed to ages ago and have long since given up using or caring about. And it's just nice to know that they're like, hey, are you still using this gym membership from a state that you haven't lived in for 27 years? And then you just cancel it with just one little button because you're like, oh, thanks for catching that.
True Bill is like the easiest thing to do, the easiest way to use or to cancel unwanted subscriptions and memberships. It's an app, guys. True Bill is an app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need or want or you forgot about, or gym memberships, or any other thing that uses like a recurring like apps. Like, do you know how many apps they found on mine that I was like had deleted long ago, but was like weirdly still paying monthly for, and they were just getting renewed. On average, people save up to $720 a year with True Bill. That's incredible.
Who can't use $720?
I would take it right now. Companies make subscriptions hard to cancel on purpose. And True Bill makes it very, very simple. And your True Bill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. They have over 2 million users. It has helped save people over $100 million. That's incredible. Also, you can find out things like, don't be petty, but like, is your ex-boyfriend still using your Netflix? I don't know. Maybe. You know what we found out?
What?
It wasn't even like, it was like one of the houses that we rented. It was like the person from that house was like we like hadn't signed out of something. Do you know what I mean?
Oh gosh.
So like, then you're like, well, okay. So we just have to change your password and everything. But like they alert you to what's happening, which is so beneficial.
You never would have thought of that.
Guys, don't fall for subscription scams. Don't fall for the scams, and don't let them trick you. Start canceling today at truebill.com/best. Go right now, right this second. Truebill.com/best. It could save you hundreds a year. Truebill.com/best. Ooh, Olive and June. That's the song that I always go back to. Olive and June.
It's such a good one.
Olive and June. Guys, we love Olive and June so much. The Olive and June Mani system is your answer to creating salon perfect nails at home every single time. Their Mani system is literally everything you need for beautiful salon perfect nails at home. And honestly, I'm a little bummed that I didn't carry my Mani system with me while I was traveling because I need it.
Oh, man.
I know. I'm like really bummed, but
you'll
back
be reunited
in no time.
with it. Yeah. Soon.
I know. I literally was like, should I just order one to my mom's house and I'll just, you know what I mean? Olive and June, this is why I love it. With the Mani system, you get everything you need. It's like all the tools are included in one box. The nail polishes, which are such great quality, last over 7 days. If you're Caissie, you can keep it on for like 3 weeks. If you're me, you're right at 7 days. But that's just because I'm like a bear on a wire with my fingers.
It's such a good formula. It's really self-leveling, so it's not like streaky or ridgy. No. And the brush is my favorite part. I know people love the poppy, which is like the little silicone thing that goes over the top of the brush that helps you steady your hand. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't look like an elementary school art project. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I also really love how the brush is designed. It's flat and it really makes it so like I have pretty broad nails and it really makes it so that I can just do 1, 2, 3 strokes. And like in a lot of colors, just one coat, 3 strokes of one coat are enough. That's like enough to...
I find that too, because the colors are so good and like saturated. The polishes are amazing. They're super shiny. I love their top coat. I love doing it and it's really relaxing for me. Yes. Guys, we really, really love the Olive and June Mani system. Also, you can go online and they have like Mani tutorials.
Yes.
And you can follow them on Instagram and they always have like little cute, like I just watched one the other day that was like just like a cute little manicure idea. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that next. So
cute.
Highly recommend that you get into it. Getting beautiful salon perfect nails at home is now a dream come true with Olive and June. Your new nail life is here, y'all. Visit oliveandjune.com/busy for 20% off your first Mani system. That's oliveandjune.com/busy. And you're going to get 20% off your first Mani system. Go get those beautiful nails.
Here's how I feel about it, if anyone's interested. I feel like I love witchy things. This has been a lifelong thing for me. It's not something that I just like dipped into in the past few years.
Oh, I also, by the way, same. We know this.
Love science. And I think that they go really well together. I think sometimes even science and religion can go really well together. Some of the most scientifically brilliant people I know are also quite religious and belong to various religions. So that's interesting to me. Do I really think that scientifically, like a certain crystal makes something happen by magic? No, I don't. I think that they're like literal touchstones. You know what I'm saying? So like if a certain crystal is good for something, if you're searching for something, if you're looking to like improve an area of your life, you get a crystal that corresponds or that you're drawn to, whatever. And then every time you look at that crystal and you're thoughtful about it, you're returning to doing some work on that thing that needs to be improved in your life. And so it's like it's like how have you ever heard when people say if you clench your butt every time you go through a doorway that you'll get like good glutes?
No, I've never heard that, but am I doing that now? Probably.
Maybe,
from now on.
But like you can, it stands to reason. Like if you are working or living in a place where there's lots of doorways to go through and you don't want to like do squats for like a portion of your day, every time you go through a doorway, squeeze your butt. And then like over time, you'll have done the work and your butt will be in good shape, you know?
It's like in insane. I love it. And
so I feel the same about crystals. Like if I'm working on something or wanting something to be better in my life, that is going to rely on the work of me. And so a crystal is just like a little reminder, a little physical reminder. And it could be anything. It wouldn't even have to be a crystal. If someone said like spoons are really good for helping you take care of yourself more. And I got a special spoon, and every time I touched that spoon or saw it laying on my side table, I would think about like, oh, I need to take care of myself. Let me drink a glass of water. Let me take a vitamin. Let me squeeze my butt when I go through this doorway. Then that's how that works. So I just think a crystal is like a literal physical reminder that, you know, every time you see it, that you have this goal that's supposed to be intrinsic to this crystal. And so maybe that's what the magic is. Maybe you're the magic. Maybe the crystal is reminding you that you're the magic.
Oh, we are the magic, though.
Yeah. But, like, we forget.
Sure. That's true. That is true. It's a true story.
So a crystal for me, you put it on, you put it around your neck, you put it in your bra. I know you carry crystals in your bra. You put it in your apartment, whatever, wherever you're putting it. Like every time, you know, that it's close to you. It's like a little bit of, you know, it's a charm.
It's a lucky charm.
A lucky charm. Yeah.
But not the cereal.
I don't love the cereal. Do you love Lucky Charms?
No, remember it gave me that bacterial infection in my stomach. Maybe. Don't sue me, Lucky Charms. I've already lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to a cereal company.
You had a stomach issue and you're just...
Don't you remember? Didn't I tell this on this podcast?
I don't know if you did.
Remember my bacterial infection before I had COVID?
Yes.
Okay. And then I was at the grocery store buying more Lucky Charms because and the woman behind me was like, oh my God, don't buy those. They like are going to recall them. Or at least if they're not, they like have gotten a bunch of people sick. And I was like, wait, what? And then I looked online. Did I not tell you this?
No.
I did. You guys, somebody else, listeners, I told this story. I know I did. Maybe I didn't use the Lucky Charm. Maybe I didn't say the cereal name because I didn't want to get sued.
Well,
I mean, it's not. You can look it up.
If it's in the news,
it was in the news, and like it wasn't a total recall. But they were looking at the link between like Lucky Charms and causing like this bacterial thing in like severe illnesses in people. And Birdie was in this phase where they were buying like a bunch of buying Lucky Charms. And at night I would get like stoned and go and watch vids in Birdie's room and eat all of the Lucky Charms.
Oh.
Did you just look it up?
Yeah, 7,000 people said they got sick from eating Lucky Charms and Cheerios.
Okay. So here's what I'm saying. The timeline of me with that stomach bacterial thing was like exactly then. Because I had just recovered from the illness. Remember when I went and I had to like get the MRI and all that shit? Are you laughing at me?
No, I just read the funniest line in this like news report. Said 7,300 people have reported complaints of getting sick after eating the General Mills cereal Lucky Charms on iwaspoisoned.com.
That's really funny. iwaspoisoned.com. Oh, I didn't register it. But anyway, whatever. It's fine. I put the cereal back. I stopped binge eating the Lucky Charms.
But Bird never got sick from it?
No, but the kid, who knows? Also, I don't know. Maybe I was eating them all.
Oh my God, we have
different like, you know, you have different makeups. And like Birdie's a kid. Maybe like their flora and fauna and their stomach is like Is it flora and fauna? No, probably just flora in your stomach.
It's just gut flora because fauna is animals.
Animals, I know.
If you have animals in your stomach, that's a whole other thing.
Speaking of which, I just told this story the other day about when I went to Africa and when I was leaving, when I was in my 20s and I went to Africa and they were like, don't jump in Lake Malawi because you can get bilharzia. What's bilharzia? They're snails that like grow in your liver.
You do not want liver snails.
And they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's disgusting, and you don't want that. Okay, fine. And then the mess of the trip happened. I didn't write about this trip, did I?
I don't think so.
Well, you know, I sold a TV show about it with Danny McBride that never got made for HBO. This predates you so long. Like this so far predates you.
Yeah.
Because it was like my 20s. Okay. It's the craziest story, which honestly, I think is good Substack content.
Okay.
So I'm going to not get into the whole of the story here.
This is a teaser. Yeah.
Because... And also where I really where I really faced, this is actually interesting. Oh my God, everything ties together all the time. that was the first time that I then really had to reflect on white saviorism, what I was doing in Africa, why, and how my privilege and my whiteness like played into all of these things.
Right.
And it was the trip from hell, kind of, in so many ways. And in other ways, it was like really expansive and phenomenal. And also like I said, like forced me to confront all of these other things that I just had never even really thought about, like in terms of charity and charity work and giving and what you do and how you show up and like all of this, like the things that we all need to look at and confront and and how to be a good person and how to be a person and how to, what kind of person do you want to be? All these things. So like in that way, the trip was like fucking amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because it was in my late 20s, right before I became a mother, and it really like categorically shifted the way that I think about not just the world, but like also my place in the world and how to be the most of service to others in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. But in other ways, how I got to that place was through like the most insane experience ever. And with this group of lunatics from the United States. And I sold I told Danny the story at some point when we were working together on Vice Principals, and he's like, we have to make this as a TV show. We sold it to HBO, wrote the pilot, and then like the timing was weird, and it was like long before HBO Max existed. Like I feel like if it was now, like it might have a better chance, it might have had a better chance. And that's also Hollywood break. When things miss their time, they miss their time. They don't come back. That's just it's done. But anyway, the last day of the trip, it like sort of culminated in me getting insanely drunk on like, I don't even know. Like, I don't remember what it was that I got insanely drunk on. Like just,
oh my gosh.
Just like moonshine, basically,
Something.
like at this place. It was crazy. And then I jumped into the lake.
They told you no.
Oh, I know. Everybody else was in the lake. It also, like, people were like, yeah, no, don't go. You can't go into, like, it was like one of those things where, like, the snails live and go up into your body, like, in like the very like warm, shallowy waters. But like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, stay away from like still shallow areas. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Not like whatever. The point being, I jumped into the lake. If you're there, this was Malawi specifically. Anyone who's traveled there maybe knows what I'm talking about. If you're there, although keep in mind this was 15 years ago. If you're there, there's like over the counter, you just like go to the Malawian CVS and get like this, just like a over the counter. Remover. Yes. And you just take it for a week or whatever. And it's gone. And it's easy to get a test too. But if you get back to the United States, what I didn't know, so we left the next day.
Yeah.
Is that once you're back in the United States, then they have to send like blood away to like the CDC in Atlanta, and like they have to process. It's like this whole thing. And if you do have the snails, like you have to get the medication. It's like a whole fucking ordeal. And so I got back and I was totally fine and I felt fine. But then it starts creeping in. Like, what if I'm slowly growing snails in my intestines or liver, right? In my liver. And so I went to the doctor and got tested for bilharzia, and then like didn't hear anything. And he explained to me, he's like, well, it's got to go to the CDC and whatever. And I was like, okay. And then like a month later, got pregnant with Birdie.
Oh my God.
But here's the craziest thing too. Also, I don't think you're supposed to get pregnant that soon after taking the malaria medicine. I don't know. I was not in a place I just was living my life.
Yeah.
Not a care in the snail in the
You're like
liver
me,
world.
not asking about an epidural, where it goes.
True. Yes. So anyway, the doctor called with results from my blood work and was like, everything looks perfect. This is great. Like, I think everything is great. So good. And I was like, oh, thank God. I was like very concerned I had snails growing in my liver. And he was like, no, I mean, it's just pregnancy. It's fine. It was the wrong doctor. It was my OBGYN who called. Anyway, I did get the results. Did not have the snails in my liver. I was fine.
Okay.
But I just told this story like 3 days ago.
You just had one thing growing
so
in
I
you.
didn't have the fauna.
Yeah,
This is what I'm saying. You can have flora and fauna.
You can, but you don't want to.
Wow. It was a journey.
That's a real journey. What are you doing your best at this week?
Well, what day of this week?
I mean, this week that's been a year. I feel like you've been to those pictures that we saw from the Webb telescope. I feel like you've been all the way out there and all the way back in the past week.
How cool were those pictures?
So cool. So cool. I am also a space bitch, so you know I love that.
How can any of us be assholes when you see that?
That's why I saw some TikTok where some guy was like, shh, you're all like, did you hear what happened to Jessica? He's like, who cares? This is where we are in the universe. Nobody cares.
This is it. Nobody cares.
It was interesting. It's an interesting juxtaposition this week when like Emmy nominations were announced. And
they were announced. Yeah. There was no love for Girls 5 Eva.
No love for Girls 5 Eva, but also like this is something that I always think every year when I'm like, well, but everybody who didn't get nominated still is doing their dream job and they're being paid really well for it and they're hopefully having like a great time. And so I hope everyone remembers that this is just like, it's so weird and so unimportant, right? Well, it's like you've said this a million times, like it's not important at all unless you're nominated and you win, then it's like very important, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm sort of like, everybody's getting to do this really cool job. But it's also like if you made like 4,000 football teams play a game all at one time and then you just declared like 4 finalists and picked like one winner. Like, it's so weird. It's all apples and oranges and Pop Warner teams versus professional NFL teams.
Totally.
And it's also just like a marketing campaign for so many shows. So like, you know, for example, like I know people were really defensive about Mandy Moore not being nominated for This Is Us. And I think This Is Us, the final season, only got 1 nomination for like a song that Mandy Moore's husband co-wrote. But I'm also like, she was great. She was great in that show. And it was a really good last season of a show if you like This Is Us. But also, like, a lot of people never watched This Is Us. But you can't deny it's beloved and a massive success, even if you never watched it. So, like, it's all good. Mandy Moore's going to do great things again. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just so weird. But then,
also, wasn't she nominated before?
Probably?
Hasn't she been? She's been nominated before.
Probably.
Yeah,
so,
she has.
You know. When I worked for Rosie, I think she stopped putting herself in to be nominated because she was like, it's just silly. Because she was winning like best talk show host or whatever every year, I think. And so she was just like, I mean, like, it's great and congratulations, but someone else should get a chance to win or whatever, you know. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. And I feel for people that really felt like they should have been nominated. But I also just think it's like, it's such a weird thing. And so many people, we're trying to like compare all these things that are incomparable. That's what makes them wonderful. You know, Girls Five Eva is wonderful. You don't need... I mean, easy for me to say, but like you don't need somebody to be like, Girls Five Eva is wonderful, but is it as wonderful as this other program that...
Well, right.
You know.
I mean, certainly not. Like that's, yeah. I mean, but that's the whole thing. Like competition kills creativity, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
We know this, and yet, we still put competition into the arts, which is insane. It's like a fucking waste of time and energy and everything else that you can imagine and think of. And that being said, like, I know that it means something to the companies, the production companies, the film companies, and like all that stuff. And like, so when there is such a glut of content and like TV shows and stuff, like, for me personally, like with the Girls Five Eva of it all, like I just was like, shit, fuck. I hope that they'll still pick us up, you know, for another season. Because I just feel like so much gets put on the import of that, you know, where it's like, and then they can justify, like, even if they don't have the numbers, which by the way, who even fucking knows what the numbers are, because streaming and this and that and the other thing.
Report numbers.
Nobody reports anything. But like, if they're missing a thing in one place, but they're getting critical acclaim and like the fucking like the, then maybe like, you know, the case can get made and they'll still pick it up for another year. I hope they do, but
I hope so too. I really hope so too. But also, like, it's so far beyond your control. All you could control was what the job that you did when you went and performed in that show, and you did that job. You did it. You were great. And, you know, I mean, I know this a little bit from experience, and I've been thinking a lot about this week when I was, talking about like people sort of getting into disagreements online. And I was thinking about how weird it is when you see two people fighting about something or fighting for something, and it's so clear to you that one side has already lost or won and that it was over a long time ago, but the like discussion continues on. And I think that happens a lot in television. And I know I've said this before, like I've had the experience where I've worked for years on shows that I know were lower rated than shows that I worked on that were canceled, but ratings were used as the like reasoning for canceling the show. So it's so arbitrary. Like even if they were telling you the numbers,
right,
I don't know that would matter, because the goalposts are always moving, right? In television, and now that streaming has entered the chat, it's like, who even knows? But like, you could say like, this is well rated for like a cable show, and they'd be like, but it's not what we were hoping for, so it doesn't matter that it's like higher rated than other shows. It's just not what our goal was for this show, and so therefore we're canceling it. Or they'll just tell you anything. They'll tell you your show's too expensive, and then you'll find out that every other show costs 10 times more. They'll tell you, who knows? They'll tell you that they're reworking their network, but I have faith that Girls 5 Eva will be picked up. I really hope it is. I think season 2 was even better than season 1. And I think if, people want to make good stuff, they'll want to continue making that. But also, if for whatever nutty reason they decided not to make a season 3, season 2 was incredible. It was incredible.
Well, so here's what I'm doing my best at. Seriously. This leads me into it. I was having like a fucking moment,
Yeah.
This past week has been quite a journey. And I really feel like I have been doing my best for the last several days of being able to like recognize that the universe has not let me down yet in doing the right thing, or the thing that ultimately needed to be done for a myriad of who knows why at the time, but then it becomes clear later, right? Like, she's not failed me. Even in the moments where I've been like sobbing, hysterically thinking she has. She hasn't. Like, it's then been shown later, like, oh, this is why this happened this way, right? So I've been doing really well. I've been doing my best this week at remembering that is true for me. And that the more I can kind of like hold on to that, knowing it doesn't eliminate the sobbing or whatever, but I can move through the sobbing with the knowledge that like whatever is going to happen is going to be the right thing that needs to happen. With the exception of the Supreme Court, but that's not about my life.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And like I think sometimes things happen for no reason, like or no good reason. People always try to assign reason to something.
Well, there are certain things, right? Here's what I'm saying. Guys, I'm talking about like job stuff.
Yeah,
I'm talking about like I'm not talking about like death and like no.
Yeah. No.
I'm not talking about the big stuff.
Even job stuff. Like
Right.
Somebody will tell you this is the reason for this, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense, whatever. But the battle's already lost. So why are you continuing to fight like with this? You know what I mean? Like this is kind of what I was just saying. But what I was gonna say is like sometimes I think things happen for no good reason, but the thing that I was thinking of when you were saying that is that like I just know you, and I know that no matter what happens and for whatever reason, whether the reason makes sense or it comes to make sense to you later, or if it never makes any sense to you at all, is that you will make sense of it eventually, and you will handle it because of who you are. And, and just like...
I like that spin on it.
Feel like, you've come to a place where you might not have always said this about yourself, and you might not have always believed it about yourself, but I just think like, I always think she's going to be okay, like, and that's down to who
her? Oh, She's gonna be fine.
She's gonna be okay.
She's gonna be okay, guys.
But that's down to you and, and like who you have grown into, I think. I guess what I'm saying is like the universe, love her. Love that girl. Love that bitch. But also, the universe doesn't deserve all the credit. You deserve some of the credit because you're the one making it.
Making
okay.
moves.
Making
moves.
Making it.
Listen, I appreciate that. I'll take it. What are you doing your best at?
What am I doing my best at? I am, I'm same. I didn't have a around the world adventure. I didn't have.
To be fair, it was not around the world.
Yeah,
it was just down and then over.
Yeah. I didn't have that. But I am proud of myself that I went to the doctor and let her look up my nose. Because
I'm proud of you too.
I hate a doctor, and she was lovely. And I hope she doesn't mind. Dr. Mavis Billups, I hope you don't mind that. She made some joke about, she was asking, like, are any of your piercings new? And I said, no, most of them are over 30 years old. And she said, you're only 30 years old. And I said, no, I just turned 50. And she was like, what? And then she was like, I can't believe it. And I said, yeah, it's true. I just turned 50 and it was really difficult for me. And I was a giant baby about it. And she was like, you know what? And then and it made me think of you because she was like, I have to say this carefully because I'm about to make myself cry. But she was like, but you just have to enjoy being 50 and be so glad because like we have to do that for everybody who's not here because like so many people who would have loved to have been 50 are not here, And I was like, yes, you're 100% right. So, but I loved that my dermatologist almost cried in my first meeting with her as she was giving me a pep talk.
And guess what? She got the job. So guys, don't ever not cry in your first meeting with someone because
it might work out.
It's how Shantira came into our lives.
I cried during my driver's license test, and I also got my driver's license. So
Well, I definitely cried on the beach in Anguilla, but I loved it, and they loved me. I hope, and I had the best time, and I will be back someday when I can afford it. Oh my God.
What?
Wait, we've got to go back.
Why?
We've got to go back. I just got a thing. We got to do it. You got to put this into the podcast and you just do it like this. I don't care. Variety. Armie Hammer is working as a timeshare salesman in the Caymans. After all, mic drop, boom.
Wow.
That is a fucking bombshell. You know what you were saying earlier in the show? You're like, I'm just like happy for some like good gossip, like Hollywood or like just like Broadway, like behind the scenes, like what's it called? Like babies. What's it called? What is it? The Turning Point or like what is that movie or the babies? What is it? What's the movie? With like Betty Davis and the.
I feel like we're playing the worst version of $25,000 pyramid.
It's not like Mommy's Dearest, but
like
it's like
All
the one
About
with the
Eve?
Yes! All About Eve. All About Eve. Like literally where you're like, I just like long for just some like good old fashioned like Broadway like diva gossip or whatever. Yeah. Great. By the way, guys, also minus like we understand there's also real things involved. Yes. We have to be able to hold both. And Armie Hammer, I don't remember. God, my brain. It happened.
Armie Hammer has been accused of some pretty
intense,
fucking and horrible things. Yes. Disturbing. Yes.
Really fucking disturbing.
Yes.
Really intense and disturbing sexual abuse allegations.
Yes.
And this is maybe a little bit schadenfreude. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to, I don't know if it is. I don't know what it is. But it's so like fucking wild and weird. And I do feel like his entire story was so wild and weird and how it all came out and like how it happened in that point in the early on in the pandemic when like it was like just like it was like month 1.1.
Yeah.
Like it was like month, like we had been through 1 month and 1 week of lockdown.
Right.
And then all like he like I think couldn't deal with the lockdown because he was like a full-blown addict, right? You know, like having
some kind of issues. Yeah.
Okay. So in case you missed it, did we talk about it on the podcast last week?
We did not. We talked about it.
Yeah, because we just stayed away. We just stayed away from it. This was on our private chat to each other because I was like, we don't need to get into, like, I don't love dredging up, especially when things are very serious.
Right.
You know? And like the sexual abuse allegations, it's his behavior so gross, so fucking gross.
So last week, someone tweeted a flyer saying my friend's parents are staying in the Cayman Islands, and I can't believe Armie Hammer is working there
as a fucking concierge.
As
now.
a concierge, I'm dying, and it went super viral. And this is like somebody that I know through social media. I don't know her personally, but it just went wild and everyone was like reaching out to her for comment. And then I believe it was Variety that reported like they looked into it and Armie Hammer's representative said it was like fake and a prank. A prank that someone was.
And then the girl
that they made this fake
who
flyer.
had tweeted it was like, oh fuck, and like she deleted her account for a while. Did it come back? I don't know, but she was
she's. Okay. I think she like I don't know if she deleted the tweet or if she just like turned her account off for a little while.
So now Variety is reporting that Armie Hammer is working at a hotel resort in the Cayman Islands, selling timeshares, and that all of the other reports suggesting otherwise are inaccurate. He is working at the resort and selling timeshares. He's working in a cubicle, says the source. The reality is he's broke and is trying to fill the days and earn money to support his family. This individual, who asked to remain anonymous, says that prior to working as a timeshare salesman, Hammer was managing an apartment complex in the Cayman Islands. He's living there so he can be near his 2 young children who have been residing in the Caymans with his ex-wife, TV host and entrepreneur Elizabeth Chambers. A source previously told Variety that Hammer had also spent time in recovery at a treatment facility after his career downfall. He's the great-grandson of oil tycoon Armie Hammer, which if you guys didn't know that was a real name, it's a real name. Despite his family lineage, the source explains that he's not on the family payroll and needs to work a normal and respectable job to earn money. And since he's not getting work in Hollywood, he's got to do something. Last year, after he was accused online of sexual abuse and improper behavior by numerous women, including, guys, they're not saying this, I'm saying this, like lots of cannibalistic fantasies and like saying that he was going to like murder people, right? Like the women, like in like a under the guise of it being fantasy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I remember it.
That's just from my memory. Okay.
Yeah.
But he was dropped by his agency, WME, and was fired from a plethora of projects. Last week, rumors began when a flyer made the rounds on social media depicting Hammer as a concierge employed at Maritz Resort in Grand Cayman. The flyer, which was shared and later deleted by a producer on Showtime's Deezus and Mero, included a photo of the after. At that time, Variety reported it was. Why am I just reading this to you? Is this boring? I'm sorry. I'm reading it.
Yeah,
it's fucking interesting, though.
It's interesting that there was like a denial. Here's the 2 things that I thought about it, because I know that like at first we were like, oh, is this real? And then we were like, oh, Variety's saying it's fake, and they like talked to whoever, they like investigated it. But oh
my God, I guess photos of him working as a timeshare salesman surfaced on TMZ over the weekend.
Okay, so TMZ did the digging.
My man. Leave it to TMZ to do the digging.
Leave it to TMZ. I remember thinking, like, didn't he also work at a friend's motel, like renovating a motel out in the desert? So I thought it wasn't unlikely that he would do a job like that. Like he's, you know, he has done non-acting jobs in the recent past. I remember thinking that, and then I remember also being surprised that he still had representatives who were commenting on his behalf. But
it's just a lawyer, I think.
Oh, okay.
Which,
okay.
by the way,
that makes
probably
sense.
you should retain.
Yeah, you should keep that
you
lawyer.
Know what I mean? Now they're saying that the initially the hotel was like, no, that's not true. The source is saying that the hotel was trying to protect Hammer, who is, in fact, working a job selling timeshares. Wow.
Huh.
So basically, so guys, so during the pandemic, I'm just going to recap real fast because maybe we can edit this so that it makes sense. Screenshots of messages from women began to surface on social media, appearing to depict Hammer as having cannibalistic fetishes. What started out as a punchline snowballed into a media firestorm that didn't die down, particularly as more serious allegations came forth, including a rape accusation from a woman who came forward with her attorney, Gloria Allred, which led to an LAPD investigation that has since concluded. So he wasn't charged with anything.
Yeah. So he's free to be in the Cayman Islands, I guess.
Hammer, who was married at the time of many of the incidences, has strongly denied the rape claim and all other accusations, stating that any interactions with any women were consensual. In an effort to discredit the allegations, his legal team provided the media with text messages with the woman who accused him of rape. Despite his denial, Hammer's public reputation was severely damaged. This is very interesting to me.
It is very interesting. It just makes me think of like, you know, like the allegations against Kevin Spacey. And I wonder, you know, like, is Kevin Spacey still being cast in things or
No.
not?
I
feel like
so.
I don't know, but
I don't think he is.
Or is he like still trying to audition for things
Yeah,
or whatever?
I think remember he released that fucking creepy ass video?
Yes.
Remember that Christmas
Yes.
video that like did we discuss this that we thought was like speculative? Like, okay, my friends and I were having conversations that we felt like he was doing some sort of secret message to other like pedophiles that were around like Jeffrey Epstein and like that he was basically like, I know who you are and I'm going to fucking, if you do this to me anymore, like I'm going to out you. You know what I mean?
I thought it was interesting. I thought it was like, yeah, like when O.J. Simpson wrote "If I Did It," I felt like it was kind of something like that. I have bad news for you though. Kevin Spacey was in Let Me Be Frank in 2018, a short.
No, that's what I'm talking about. That was what it was.
Then
Let Me Be Frank was like his weird thing he released on Christmas where he like
that was,
but that's not exactly that's not included in work.
Right.
He literally filmed himself doing like a weird monologue where he was like,
but this is what I wanted to say.
No, don't
so that was
no.
Let Me Be Frank. In 2022, his IMDb has 1, 2, 3, 4 credits on it.
What? But who's making these things? This is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
You
the
know what
man
I mean?
who drew God, he plays, which is in post-production right now, he's playing a detective. In Peter 5-8, something that's been completed. Yeah, I mean, these aren't like, they don't seem like they're big deal projects, but people are still casting him in things, which is wild to me. Like it's interesting. It's interesting to me because
Netflix shelved Gore following the allegations against Kevin Spacey.
Okay.
And the film will most likely never be released.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this is like, I'm like, let's look up, like, you know what I mean? Like,
the
there's
individual.
I feel like we have to like, you do sort of like have to.
IMDb is not like
not the best, not the most
updated.
Yeah. But this is also what I want to say. These are also maybe projects he was attached to before the allegations. Like you have to like,
and maybe they're like editing him out,
or it's like, or the project is like indefinitely on hold. No one's updating IMDb,
right?
You know what I mean? The last news is from April 2021. No, the only thing is some Italian film.
It's all wild. I'm just like, it's very interesting to me because like these are like these very public stories and like, yeah, what happens, like whether anything happens legally, which in the case of Armie Hammer, nothing seemed to happen legally. And then Kevin Spacey, I believe he has had legal action taken against him that is like ongoing. I think he just had a thing in the UK.
Yeah.
But then like, how do they make a living? Do they continue to try acting? Do they continue to try in some other arena? And then I think of like Nicolas Cage, who, as far as I know, he was never accused of anything but being like, you know, kind of wild himself, like kind of being a little self-destructive. I was just thinking about like his recent like comeback. He's playing himself, like an elevated version of himself in this movie, but he did a lot of talking about how he was basically broke and he had to do all of these like direct to video movies to like claw his way back. It's very interesting to me.
But nothing bad happened to Nicolas Cage, right?
No, he just lost all his money because he was like living large and kind of wild and
Nicolas Cage and I have some things in common.
Made some bad investments. Wait, did I ever tell you about the Nicolas Cage? There's a Nicolas Cage article, I think it was in GQ, that came out a few months ago, and they described a picture of Prince, a portrait of Prince that he had framed on his wall, and it was by the same photographer who took the photograph of Prince that you got for me for a wrap gift for Busy Tonight. And so I messaged the photographer saying like, congratulations, you didn't get a shout out by name in this article, but they're talking about your portrait that Nicolas Cage has on his wall. And he was like, oh my gosh, can you send me the article? But anyway, I have great love for Nicolas Cage and I have a lot of respect for his work. I think he's one of my favorite actors of all time. And I just think it's interesting that, you know, he went through a bad financial time because of like, you know, made bad investments. Well, I mean, bad investments, I feel like is an understatement a little bit, but he didn't like do anything where he lost the court of public opinion, you know, and he still had to like claw his way back. It sounds like into the business. So
I mean, lots of us do.
I mean, I guess, but
that's
kind
of the thing, you know? Artists aren't great. Like, this is scandal and like horrible behavior is one thing.
Yes.
But on the other side of it, like we like say what you will about celebrity culture, whatever, guys, like actors, directors, writers are artists, and artists are, historically speaking, terrible with money, and also
and they have an ego.
Also get taken advantage of because they have an ego, and also have so many people surrounding them that are siphoning money off of them at all times.
Right.
Like, that's just the way that this business is set up. Like, it's no wonder that, like, whatever from the Cosby Show is broke, but, you know, like, whatever.
Right.
It's like, it's not a sustainable life. You have to figure out a Substack. You know what I mean?
Well,
you
that's
gotta get yourself into into a Substack situation.
A $5 a month situation. It's just interesting to me that Nicolas Cage is like, you know what? I'm going to do all of these like really small kind of, low budget projects, and I'm going to like come back. And that Armie Hammer, who had like a totally different situation, was like, I'm going to call it. I'm going to go to Cayman and like work in this hotel. Like that was his choice. And that on the other hand, Kevin Spacey was like, I'm going to just ride it out. I'm going to ride it out. I feel like Kevin Spacey is convinced that people will forget.
I think Kevin Spacey is the epitome of living in his like white male privilege. And he is also, I think, convinced that he's literally done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
he's like, to me, let me just say this. And we got to take Nick Cage out of this conversation because this is like, it's not fair to put him in this.
No.
I actually just looked this up, and Franco just got, 1 day ago, the news came out that Franco just got cast in his first thing since his accusations. And I'm not sure, I haven't followed it. Sorry guys, I haven't followed it that closely just because I just haven't.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of amends he's made or whatever. Like, I have no idea. If we could look at like, maybe we look at all three of them.
Yeah.
To me, Armie's near his kids. I don't know how, I have no idea of what their arrangement is or what his lovely, she was on our TV show, guys, Busy Tonight. His lovely ex-wife allows or what is possible for him.
Yeah.
But it shows to me that he is like committed to trying to like repair a relationship with his kids, or at least have a relationship with his kids, right?
Yeah.
What he's doing now feels in so many ways like exactly what he should be doing. Like, be close to your kids, hopefully making a little bit of money to be able to contribute. Because also, like, this is what I want to say. And I was a huge Armie Hammer fan.
Right.
I loved him.
Yeah. Before
Guys,
all this.
Come
Yeah.
on. Before, obviously. I don't need him. I don't need him in a fucking movie. I don't care. I don't miss him. I don't miss James Franco in movies. I don't care. I don't need him.
Right.
I don't miss Kevin Spacey in anything. Ever. I don't need him. Fuck that guy. Who cares?
Right.
Go. You know what? There's no fucking guarantee that you get to do this thing. Like, that you get to be. This is like where the public decides.
Right.
Right?
This was my point about bringing up
Lea
Nicolas
Michele.
Cage.
Oh, no.
This was my point in bringing up Nicolas Cage because I feel like it's so weird that I like shoehorned him into this discussion. But I'm saying, like, he didn't really do anything to anyone except himself that I'm aware of.
Right.
But somehow that put him in a position where he felt like his career, like he had to claw to get it back. You know what I mean? So, like, even someone who's innocent could lose what their career had been. I mean, he's a Coppola, for God's sake,
But the point is that, like,
so these guys,
there's
like,
no
really
guarantee in any industry, but especially like when you're an artist, you don't have like, yes, you can have the best of all behavior and generate goodwill, and your career can still fizzle out, and you can still find yourself scraping, you know? But like, so for me, when like Louis C.K., like all these fucking guys, like, I don't need you in this arena. I don't need you. Like, your voice ceases to be something that anyone needs to hear, or you're not valuable because of the choices that you've made to like stymie other people. Because sex is power, and like, these guys are fucking disgusting, and they're using it to like feel powerful for 2 seconds, right?
It's interesting because it's the conversation that people always have where they're like, you know, can you separate the art from the artist? And, and I'm usually sort of like, I can't really, because it just like taints whatever they do for me. And I just can't enjoy it because I'm just thinking about the larger story. It takes me out of, so people claim that they that you should be able to separate art from the artist, and that they do. It's just interesting to me, the decisions, because we've never really seen, until recently, we've never really seen any of this play out so much.
Well, no, because men never had
they never had any consequences.
There were no consequences for their action.
Right. So like James Franco decided to lay low, and now he's like getting back on screen.
But like, I don't think did he? This is where I'm saying
was
like
it
I
a
don't
choice
have,
or?
But did he? No. Oh, it was. I don't think it was a choice. But like, also, this is where I think I didn't pay attention. Did he ever make a statement or an apology or anything?
I think he said something. Yeah, I think he did say something about having done wrong. But it's interesting to me because then like Kevin Spacey, like you were saying, he feels like he didn't do anything wrong. Woody Allen never not only did Woody Allen never stop working, but he never stopped being supported by so many people, which
still.
Still people are still working with him. But so it's interesting to me that that his ego was not in a place to be like, oh, I can ride this out. Like people will forget about this.
I don't know, but he's also like a rich person.
Yeah.
And rich people are different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if he's not like getting the benefits of the money, people who have generational wealth are just like different.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Because they just operate in a different way. So like for him, like his family has been famous forever.
Right.
He's not motivated.
I'm real money.
I even fucking know. Real money.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was a crazy turn of events. I wasn't expecting it.
That's a wild turn of events that this, we thought it was gossip, then we thought it was a prank, and then it turns out seems like it's true. TMZ.
And I just like sort of didn't really want to like talk about it because then, it does, it's interesting. I mean, I do sometimes like we are aware, right? And I'm like, I feel like we should just stay away from certain things because I don't want to get in trouble. But here's what I'm going to say. I would, if I need to learn a thing, I feel safe that one of you would be able to teach me a thing.
Yeah.
Without knowing that, that my intentions are good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean.
And that I want to know. I want to like have the right way of thinking about things. And sometimes you don't have the right way of thinking about things just because a different way has not been presented to you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's interesting to talk about because it brings up a lot of other conversations that like don't necessarily apply to Hollywood, but about like, it's interesting to observe how people react and how the court of public opinion, which applies to regular people as well as celebrities sometimes, and just like that decision-making process of like, how do people move forward and how does this affect everyone?
I think it's interesting though too because it feels like it is a different choice, that like it maybe is a choice that's more based in, although let's be real, the other two people that we were talking about don't have families. They don't have children.
Right. So they could,
and so maybe it also speaks to like being a parent and like wanting to make sure that like you do the right thing for your kids,
Yeah. I mean,
in the face of, I hope he's like, whatever. I hope he's like getting help. And I'm sure he it seems like he is. Like, it seems like a person who's decided to like return to the small island that his family is retreated to. You know what I mean? Don't you think? Doesn't it feel like?
I mean, we'll never know the answer to this, but is there any type of trying to make it right for the women? I mean, I guess maybe they could sue him civilly. Maybe. I don't know. But
we also don't know if he's settled or did anything.
Right.
He could have already.
Yeah. So, so it's not that you ever could make something like that right, but if there's any type of like repair there's been an attempt to make happen. But
I don't know. Sometimes I think as like a person who was sexually assaulted as a teenager, and I'm pretty certain that guy did not think that, or I actually don't know. I can't even presume to know what that guy thought. But I do feel like if I got some sort of heartfelt apology, some understanding of like, so I do feel like I would be able to, like at this point in my life, I would be able to accept it. And not only that, like it would like be nice for me to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And similarly, I mean, I think I told you, did I talk about this on the podcast about the guy that knocked me up? Sending me that cease and desist letter?
Oh, yeah. I think we talked about it offline.
Yeah, I don't think I ever talked because I didn't want to like deal with it. But like after I talked about my abortion on Busy Tonight, and then I was like, it was everywhere sort of in that moment afterwards. I got this like crazy thing through reps of mine from the guy who had gotten me pregnant, essentially saying that it was a cease and desist letter to me talking about my own experience. And that, you were there.
Yeah.
It was literally like 2 days after the show wrapped.
Yeah.
That sent me into like a real fucking dark spiral and tailspin. First of all, it was like, it was as if it was written by a third grader. So
it's just so fucked up.
Well, it's so fucked up for so many. Like, number one, it was so poorly written, and you know how I am about grammar, and also ludicrous, like in so many ways, like ludicrous. But then also, on top of everything else, in the letter he said alleged abortion, and it was like, I don't know how to describe what that. I felt like I was gonna lose my fucking mind for like 3 days. I like could not. I was like very, very deeply triggered, and it's actually so fucking weird. So I just realized that where I'm staying is like, if it wasn't 117 degrees out, I could like walk to the house that he lived in with his parents from here.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't need fucking like absolution from any man ever about my own experiences. And I don't need anyone. But I do have to say, like, what he sent me in 2019 is the opposite of an apology letter for how I was treated and what happened in like how it went down, my abortion and our relationship when we were kids.
Yeah.
And I know that it sent me into like, even now, sorry, I just like literally went into like a fugue state for 2 seconds. Sorry guys. Now I'm coming out of it. But I'm just saying, like, if the opposite letter had showed up, like,
right.
I do feel like it would have been nice, or
well, it's
I don't need it.
Yeah. You never, like, all you said was your story, and you didn't fill in specific details. You protected this other person, in my opinion.
Oh,
and
but by the way, also I had to, because like the lawyers for the book were like, I had to change all the identifying characteristics and the things and the this and the that and da-da-da-da-da.
And by the way, like, you were both teenagers and not good at these things at that time. You know what I mean? So like, you could have said all of these things like, well, did it go well? No, it wasn't great. And, but maybe sort of chalk it up to like being teenagers and it didn't go well, the process of that. But to have him reach out to you as an adult and be like, you know, I'm just as terrible about this now as I was when I was a kid.
Well, it was like also it was so fucking all over the place. And I was like, for a second, I was like, oh no, he wants money. Like, oh shit. Like this guy wants money from me, which by the way, I guess is a thing. Like, sure. I mean,
good luck.
Yeah. By the way, honey, get in line, babe.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I hope he's not listening to the podcast because I
don't give a fuck.
I don't want to get a poorly worded cease and desist letter from him saying that I can't talk about someone that I never met and never will.
Well, by the way, my lawyer was like, if I didn't know how deeply upsetting and like misogynistic and disgusting this was, it is laughable busy. Like, she's like, if I didn't so deeply feel the 15-year-old you,
right,
you know, in this moment, like, I would hope that you'd be able to just like fucking laugh. Which, by the way, I didn't talk about that, like the cease and desist letter, for so long because I didn't want to give that guy any more air. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, who even fucking knows who that guy is or where he is or whatever?
Right.
But also, I was like weirdly like, I didn't want to push it because I didn't want him to like come after money from me or whatever,
or
for whatever reason.
You
just don't fucking know.
You just
people
don't
are
know.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Guys,
that's
people
fucked up.
are crazy. That was fucked up.
Fucked up.
There were a lot of stories on today's pod that had never been told before.
And you know, but we'll probably
keep it to yourselves.
Don't tell anyone, and we'll probably repeat them at some point because we'll be like, did I ever tell that story? Guys, thanks for being patient with us since we were a little late this week, but we figured you would understand.
Yeah, I actually called Caissie when I didn't call you. I texted you when on Saturday. Oh no, I'm going to cry. When it was all going down with the bird, and I was just like, I can't do the podcast this week at all. I'm sorry, we have to cancel everything. And I just am and then Caissie was like, okay, it's no matter what, like, that's fine. Everything's going to be fine. Like with the podcast, don't even worry about the podcast. We'll figure it out. It's totally fine. And then I texted you yesterday. I was like, I'm good. Can I just, so can we do it tomorrow? You're like, yes.
Yeah, well, we're really lucky because everyone that we work with is the best.
Flexible and the best.
Very flexible.
They're simply the best.
So thank you to Amanda and Josh. We love you so much. And and we knew that you guys would understand that sometimes you just have to handle what's...
Sometimes life gets in the way.
But yeah, I think we're probably done-ish. I hope that you guys.
Wait, did you see my sister made me an ungovernable temper T-shirt?
I did
so
see
cute
that
on her
and
Cricut
then
machine.
People were wondering. We also have an ungovernable temper shirt that's on Brave Gowns. If Busy's the one her sister made is custom, one of a kind, just
on
for
her
Busy.
Cricut machine.
On her Cricut machine. I love that she can figure out that Cricut because I never have been able to.
I'm good at it, but now it's all the pieces of my Cricut machine are scattered across properties far and wide and storage units, and I don't fucking know where anything is. I pulled it. I was trying to make some stuff. I just put the pieces that I had back, and I was like, well, someday I'll
there you go.
Get it again.
We have an ungovernable temper T-shirt on Brave Gowns. And just FYI, just a little bit of business. A lot of people, I posted a picture of just the cropped version, and a lot of people were like, I need a full-length version. There's a full-length version on the website right next to the cropped one. You can go there. A lot of people also asked if it was going to come in any fun colors. Just to let you know, from a design perspective, maybe this will make a difference to you. We did it like a blackboard with white letters, like what, the little press-in letters, because it was about, it was about your great grandpa and how he had been arrested and,
But we could also work on some fun colors for you guys. If that's what you want, we could do whatever you want.
Yeah. So, but that was the reasoning behind it not being a fun color. But, maybe there'll be fun versions of it in the future. Who knows?
Oh, one last thing before we go.
Sure.
I did order California Pizza Kitchen last night from the CPK that I used to work at.
Oh, wow. Did you think
hotel.
It lived up to your when you were working there, the standards that you had?
I don't know, because it's been many, 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 many years. And also, having it takeout delivered is different than just enjoying it
eating it
fresh out of the pizza oven,
Yeah, yeah.
But, we were laughing because Bertie's friend is actually going to come to the West Coast. Bertie's friend who also left camp. I talked to the mom and I'm like, do you just want to just send your kid here? I'd love to hang out with them and whatever.
Yeah.
And Bertie was like, it's so crazy. She's never even been to California before because we're going to go to Los Angeles,
Oh, nice.
And she was like, can we please take her to Disneyland? And I was like, well, we'll see. We'll see about that. Let's see how things are going. Bertie is also like, then she was on FaceTime. I told you that, the friend.
Yeah.
And we were ordering CPK to be delivered. And she's like, what is that? What are you talking about? I was like, oh my God, you grew up in New York City. You don't fucking know what California Pizza Kitchen is.
Oh, wow.
And then Bertie's like, gotta take her there. And then and then Bertie's like, okay, so In-N-Out, California Pizza Kitchen, and Disneyland. And I was like, the big three. That's what they call the big three. You gotta hit them all. When you go to LA,
gosh.
the big three.
Oh my gosh.
CPK, In-N-Out, Disneyland.
Well, I hope that they get to do at least some of those things. Those are...
Well, for sure, In-N-Out, maybe CPK, possibly Disneyland. We'll see.
Well, all right. Bird doesn't listen to this podcast, so...
Never will. All right, guys, we love you. We love you. Love you. Love you.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right, let's do ads real fast.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Oh, no.